Yeah, it goes through the Zoom app to YouTube live stream.
Do you watch the
Nah, every once in a
council
while.
meetings?
I should more often, and I really should have
Very
done the last.
entertaining.
Yeah, some of them are. Some of them are just.
Then
like-
yes, yeah.
They drag on about stuff I'm not interested in.
That's Regional Resource.
Commission.
Resource Commission.
Why are you just yelling that out at me?
Well, because we're trying to figure out what CERT.
It's better than those ones.
Oh, yeah.
Where's Chris? We got it for him.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Oh, did you grab a five catch program? No. You want one?
Sure. So these darn owls, they catch every eye roll, they catch everything. So that's why Wendy's always on camera.
Yeah. It's live streaming now, so it's gonna go live stream.
That's all right. I'm just talking for a house.
Downstairs. Brooke knows. Save this for
Yeah.
upstairs. What's going on downstairs? It's the Chugach.
Nope, not us right now.
Oh,
It is, a different thing tonight. Adam Lyle and his son are here. It's something to do with mariculture stuff and how to work together with the university system.
Oh,
He was
yeah,
waiting
yeah,
for
it's
my-
a UAF thing.
And you know, it was done
His kid,
because they
and
think
I was
it's
like,
like pizza, they're gonna bring it up to you, so you're gonna win this.
I know, and he was outside waving at me when I was coming in, and I was like, maybe I know you, maybe my glasses, maybe I need to put my glasses back on, because I can't see you that good, like. But, guess not.
We ran into, it was Carson's little girl's baptism in Anchorage, and Jason and Keith Burger go to the same
Oh,
church.
yeah,
And I hadn't seen those children
in forever,
in forever.
I used to babysit them when I was baby little. It's the burger kids.
The Burger Kids.
Oh, yeah.
Jason, and
Yeah.
They're not little anymore.
They're not.
No, like in their 20s. 20? One of them?
Yeah, the oldest, but, his daughter is a senior this year.
Okay. Yeah, and then the little Blake is,
I think it's high school, I just don't know which age. I think he's younger in high school, I think there was a little more space.
there's a little
And-
space between them, yeah.
Ella?
Ella,
Braden's
Braden is the older one,
Yeah.
and then. What did I say? Drake, not Drake, Blake. Yeah.
We'll get there.
We have to start stuff.
We had Parker's this week, and so Paul felt bad. I just, we can call them.
I could just die of her entire girl.
Yeah.
She's so
So
cute.
cute. She's adorable. I don't even- Yeah, little boy.
So for those boat people in your lives, I really recommend these. It's the Admiral by Stanley. And it's got Reaper on the bottom, so I don't know.
Very good, you just made a commercial.
You were live streaming on YouTube, so. Make sure.
So
you
tomorrow
tell
Stanley puts
We're a
the apples up for a sponsorship.
But it looks a little big to fit in the cup.
Yeah.
Got it right on the center post.
Yeah. Or the dash.
Yeah.
I was wondering about the dash.
My sister didn't believe me, so I threw it on the dash and did the whole.
Of course you did.
Stayed.
It did, huh?
Nothing else in my dash stayed. But you'll laugh because it's apple juice.
Apple juice, not even coffee. Apple
I don't
juice.
drink coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, you sick?
Don't need it.
Well, this time of day, well, I probably do, but
No, don't need it. Ever.
Ever.
It kills me. My wife hates it. I blame my dad. I blame my dad.
If it gets too loud, let me know. I'll close the door. I put signs up for this meeting, so you can close the door if we need to.
Okay,
So,
just as long as everybody like talks, so I can hear them.
Well, it's 6:30. Call the planning commission public hearing meeting to order. Roll call.
Tanya Harrison. Not here. Let's see. Mark Hall,
Here?
Chris Bolin,
Here.
Sarah Tremblay,
Here.
Chris Rainey,
Here.
Gail Foodie, here. Sean Danadell.
Here.
Makes a quorum.
This is for a conditional use permit, residential use in the industrial zone, lot 4A, Northville Development Park, edition number 2. Do we have anybody here that's to speak on this or online? Okay, we're gonna hold for a couple minutes. And then we'll move on to the meeting, but gotta give people a chance. In case they're running a little late.
and then just some, housekeeping for the regular meeting. We have an additional guest speaker tonight. AML, Glass Municipal League is gonna speak, regarding the Safe Streets for All planning project that we're working on them with, so we'll have them go first prior to Brooke. And then, I don't know if Amanda brought this up while I was out of the room, but it's up to you if you want to decide about adjusting the agenda to consider putting unfinished business at the end of the meeting, just so that the people that are here to speak about items on the agenda don't have to sit through that conversation if they don't want to. But let you guys decide that.
Somebody just needs to make a motion.
We.
Well, it has to be during that meeting.
You guys get many visitors to this?
No. Sometimes, but rare.
This is my first time. I'm so excited.
We're excited to have you though.
Yes, because last time was the first time we had people in quite a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you have many last time?
And a half.
What?
And a half.
2.5?
Well, we had
Oh,
Well,
four.
short.
We had 4
Oh, that's right.
and a half.
Tony
Oh,
was,
that's- I
Tony
forgot.
was here
And the baby.
also.
And the baby, we forgot.
And the baby.
And the baby, I forgot about that. I see.
Yeah.
Downgrade from the amount of people that have been here lately. By half.
And a half.
Half.
My personality could be so big that it,
Sure, right.
is it my eye rolling that you always do? I try to keep it straight.
You were very poker face.
Oh, good. Okay.
You're probably good to go, and then if somebody does show up, we'll just have the public comment during the regular meeting.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing. Call for adjournment.
I'm going to adjourn the public meeting,
Second.
public hearing.
All right,
6.
moving on. Planning Commission regular meeting Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. Call to order, roll call.
Tanya Harrison. Mark Hall,
Here.
Chris Bolin,
Here.
Sarah Tremblay, here. Chris Rainey,
Here.
Gail Foodie, here. Sean Danadell.
Here.
That makes a quorum.
Approval of agenda. Do I have any motions on that?
I move to approve the agenda
Second.
and with the addition of, you wanted to amend the agenda?
Have our unfinished.
Scheduled to.
Yeah, after 10. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed? Moving forward. Approval of the consent calendar, the approval of the minutes from January 14th, 2025.
I move we approve. Sorry.
Is there any comments on it? Nope. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just make a, I don't know if Sean can hear you. I can barely hear, so I don't know. Sean, can you hear Gail when she's speaking?
Yeah, I can hear
I can hear more. What's that?
Better mic.
Better mic in my ears.
You can change seats if you like.
Yeah.
Maybe, can I?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The seats aren't in any particular order, just wherever we put them.
Okay.
Moving on. Disclosure of conflicts of interest, ex parte communications. Anybody? None?
Well, I work for NBE. I don't know if that, if that makes a difference. I have nothing to get into on anything that'll be discussed.
For which,
Well, I know that Brooke is here to talk, and then, I think that there was. Just here to talk.
okay,
Just to say,
And item 10B is a letter of interest from Native Village V Act
That's where it
looking to acquire a piece of land through the land disposal process.
NBE.
you work for them,
I work for them.
that would be a conflict. Of potential, or,
I mean, even if a conflict's identified, it's ultimately up to the commission to determine if they think it's something that a commissioner needs to recuse themselves, so, it'd be up to the group.
personally, we're just doing a recommendation. We're not actually gonna be doing anything.
Are you, involved in that project, particularly?
No, not that no. No, I'm not on any of the planning or anything.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with it.
We will let that go. Correspondence, I didn't see any. Next is communications from and petitions from visitors. We've got our A bumped to B, and we have a new A. That's who?
Alaska
Yeah,
Min-
so-
Municipal League.
Yeah, we have AML online.
Oh, okay.
So kind of like I said before we started the meeting, we've been working with AML in one of their cohort groups on the Safe Streets for All planning project. It's I mean, they'll give a better summary than I can, but basically it's just, they're gonna be helping us put together a document that helps put together planning priorities that are focused around all different transportation models and things that we can work on in the community to have safer transportation options and infrastructure that then we'll have a document to reference when we go after grant funding and things like that. So with that, I'll turn it over to the group that we have online. All right.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Britta Hamry. I'm a senior planner with the Alaska Municipal League. And also joining us this evening is my colleague Grace. Thanks so much for letting us crash the party. Grace, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Grace, as Britta said. I am a junior planner here at Alaska Municipal League. And yeah, thanks for having us tonight.
And we wanted to take the time to introduce ourselves to the Planning Commission as well as introduce the concept of a safety action plan under the umbrella of the Federal Highway Administration's Safe Streets and Roads for All program. Kevin, I do have some slides. They're not critical. I can just speak to it, but I don't currently have the ability to share on the Zoom, but that is not mission critical.
Cool, there you go.
Oh, I got it. Thank you. Okay. So here's Grace and oh, are the slides just on a little bit of delay? The safety action plan, Cordova is one of 21 communities that AML is supporting in creating a safety action plan. And it is utilizing the safe systems approach. And so there's a great visual on the screen here. The safe systems approach is recognizing that any fatality or any injury is one too many. And so death and serious injuries are unacceptable, that humans make mistakes. Humans are vulnerable. The responsibility is shared by all different types of road users, that safety is proactive, that it is not just reacting to a critical event, and that redundancy is crucial. So we have the safe systems approach of safer people, vehicles, speeds, roads, and post-crash care. And here's just a bit more detail on the safe systems approach. And a nice little visual. I'm gonna keep us going ahead. In terms of engaging with the Planning Commission, what I'd like to plant the seed today is that for these safety action plans, we, AML thought it was prudent to go after a cohort bundled approach to increase the number of safety action plans throughout the state, recognizing that local governments have specific needs unique to rural off-road system Alaska communities, and that you already probably have some solutions or improvements or infrastructure needs that you're already aware of. And if we get them documented in a safety action plan, then that creates one less step between getting funding for that infrastructure project. So when we're talking about Cordova's safety action plan, what we really want to focus on is what's within the control or authority of the city of Cordova. And so that looks like the items that I have on screen, road maintenance and repair for the roads that are under Cordova's inventory, lighting and signage, particularly around common routes to school. That's something we've been hearing from a lot of communities. Equipment, maintenance, and snow removal equipment comes up in a lot of our communities. What's also in the city's control is planning and implementation, such as the Planning Commission, as well as education and awareness. So the safety action plan to be eligible for the Safe Streets and Road for All implementation funds needs to include these 8 components. Right now, we are at the very beginning of starting this process with our cohort of 21 communities, but I just want to focus on introducing you to the first 4 concepts that are on the left side of your screen, which are leadership, commitment, and goal setting. It's pretty much written out for us that the goal setting for a safety action plan has to include a target date for achieving 0 roadway fatalities and serious injuries, or an ambitious percentage reduction. What we understand for a lot of our rural Alaskan communities, it's not that there is a high number of serious injuries or roadway fatalities. And so making that first commitment, we have AML staff that are drafting template commitments for a resolution, either for the Planning Commission or City Council. The planning structure, we are not interested in reinventing the wheel. And so we will be working with Kevin as well as the city planner on utilizing Cordova's existing workflow for planning processes. And then AML has contracted a RESPEC, an engineering firm, to do the safety analysis component. One thing that we recognize, not unique to off-road system Alaska communities, but statewide, there's significant data gaps when federal funding for transportation safety infrastructure often includes reference to official data sets that just Alaska does not have representation in. So we have contracted out to transportation experts to do that level of analysis and bring those gaps and include them in the plans to then hopefully encourage the federal databases to either make caveats for Alaskan communities or improve their research methods so that Alaska communities' reality on the ground infrastructure is better represented. And then we're also engagement and collaboration is a key component of a safety action plan in order for the items or tasks identified in the safety action plan to be eligible for funding. A plan has to meet all of these components, and that engagement and collaboration is certainly where we see you all as experts in your community of who should be involved in the public engagement as well as like stakeholder engagement process for this plan. So I also want to acknowledge what is out of the locus of our control in when we're developing a safety action plan, and that's the environmental challenges, external behaviors, both from wildlife and road system users, as well as resource limitations on equipment, staffing, and emergency response capacity. And so recognizing that tonight is probably the first of many meetings that we will hop on to engage the Planning Commission as we work on developing the safety action plan. I would like to, hopefully not take too much of your time this evening, but plant the seeds with these questions of off the top of your head, what are some things that you would like to get out of this project? What are some road and safety issues that you've seen in your community? And what are some projects that, you feel that there's demonstrated need, but you just would really like to see implemented. And so I guess I will cede the floor. I'm interested to hear from you folks and but not overwhelm your agenda for this evening. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight.
Questions?
Any questions and or any responses to the prompts on this slide?
Lots of good info, appreciate it, and look forward to further discussion.
Certainly, one road safety related issue that immediately springs to my mind anyway, is the stretch of road between the end of the downtown corridor and up to the hospital going by the high school. That road has always struck me as being misengineered in that it really encourages a driver to think as they're leaving downtown, they're thinking, okay, I'm on the highway now, it's time to speed up to highway speeds, even though you're going through a school zone where it's one of the highly trafficked pedestrian areas in town, so. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that's my zone where in the winter I try to go 40 and charge my battery and then have to stop because I realize there's like kids, but I grew up here. So I don't know. What's realistic?
Yeah, I would just like to see some, maybe some flashing lights where when kids are at a intersection, they can just push a button and there's some flashing lights, because in the winter, when these kids are not wearing reflective gear, at least if they know that they have to cross the street at an intersection, they can push a button and at least some lights would activate that they were going through.
I'd rather put in some like traffic calming measures, neck down the road a bit, make it less of a thoroughfare.
There's experts out there that are gonna give us answers,
Yeah.
I hope.
Looking forward to hearing what people have to say.
Sean, do you have any comments?
No, not right now. I'm excited to go through this process and kind of hear and look at maps and, really try to figure out where in town you could get the best, value for some of these road safety improvements. I think there's plenty of places in town that we could, focus, and it'll just be interesting to see what we pinpoint as a big priority.
Excellent. And so So the engineering subcontractors have gotten the go-ahead to proceed with doing that kind of baseline analysis. And so we'll be getting their analysis of the official data sets and then bringing that to you all and then to the community to kind of ground that, the required analysis, ground that in the reality of the lived expertise of the community in terms of where there are those trouble areas. And then I am, Sean, appreciate you sharing that, that there's probably lots of opportunities where things could be improved, but looking at that ROI, but I guess return on safety in terms of how to strategically implement different improvements to increase overall safety in the road system and network. Any other questions? Sorry, I'm not running this meeting. My apologies.
I was just wondering if the planner or the public works officer have any comments or concerns.
Yeah, I mean, just some of the things we always talk about. We have, you know, we're lucky that the downtown core is fairly walkable. The Second Street project is going to put new sidewalks in where they're not existing, so that'll help fill a lot of gaps. But like a lot of other communities, you know, our pedestrian network is definitely incomplete. A big one that we're always trying to find funding for is 7th Street to put sidewalks in between Coast Guard housing and Lake Avenue. You know, there's always a lot of kids that come from Coast Guard housing. Those people rotate out every 2 or 3 years. So, you know, you have new kids coming into the community that don't know the area and don't know the different issues that come up. So that's kind of a big one that we always try to focus on. And you know, improving the Wolf Hill connector would be nice as well, because it's the only way to get down to the hospital and the park down there without having to go all the way one way or the other on Lake Avenue. So while it is a nice trail that we have that, you know, it'd be nice to improve that as well. So those are just at least a couple of the pedestrian side things that we're usually keeping our mind on in the office, as well as our, you know, the pedestrian staircases that we have. Some of them are getting pretty old and need to be replaced. The one that goes up to observation, you know, that thing is becoming more and more of a safety hazard. The one that goes down below the or above the elementary school, well, it's not necessarily maybe in bad condition. It is pretty intense, especially in the winter time when it gets pretty icy. I don't know what we do to fix that though, because you have quite the, you know, topographic difference between the top and bottom of that staircase. But yeah, I mean, and then obviously, yeah, like Chris and Sarah both pointed out, we definitely have a speeding issue where it comes to people leaving the downtown core as they're heading to head out the road. And so that's something that we are always looking to address. With that being a state road, it's, you know, we have to work with the state on that. So that always adds an extra level of complication. I know I keep going back to pedestrian stuff, but then there's also always talk about how there's no connection between the ferry terminal and the downtown core. And that's something that the economic development district's always talking about, especially if we're trying to promote tourism and people not having to take a car on the ferry if they want to be able to have a safe way to get into town. So, you know, things like that. But obviously we'll have a lot of time to think about this, and, you know, we'll send these questions out to you so you have some more time to think about it, and then we can always get additional responses back to the group.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anything else?
Did you have anything else on your end, Britta?
No, that's it. I really appreciate you all letting us join you this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Moving on, guest speaker Brooke Mallory, Native Village of EAC, chairwoman.
May I sit? Or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Brooke. I know most of you. Sean on there. My name is Brooke Mallory, citizen of Cordova. And before I put my chair hat on, I think my first comment, I would agree as an avid walker multiple times a day with my dogs. I would advocate, and I've thought for a long time, that actually, instead of a fancy fix where the bottom of Second Street hits the highway there, that there should be some kind of four-way, five-way stop. And basically slow traffic down as it's coming down from Main Street, but also slow it like you're making people stop. And then you're not having to do lights or fancy stuff that requires tons of upkeep, keeping in mind that, you know, we have to pay for this stuff, right? But I know Russ, when he used to work at the school, there was multiple times when it's dark, and even when it wasn't dark, traffic, like, he almost got hit multiple times of people just speeding through there. But I guess I'm an advocate for what's a simple fix to get you there instead of over complicating things. I would also advocate for some kind of solution when Railroad Avenue hits the highway. You know, how are you getting pedestrians that are on the high school side across that? And that there's no real great solution. And we get away with the fact we live in a small town, but it's only a matter of time that somebody takes the corner from Main Street fast enough while someone's crossing far enough down. And there's zero crosswalk, and if that's on purpose, then we should probably have a crosswalk right before that to get people across the street the other way if they're going towards Main Street. But I would add, we don't normally go with that. Other than that, I think utilities, so you can encourage more development and making sure that our water and utilities and sewer and all that are up. And there are some bad roads. Most of the sidewalks are good. So thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate that. Being on boards is huge. So putting my Native Village chair hat on, I'm here to speak towards your new business item B, the letter of interest for a portion of track B. This is, or in Terminal Ground B subdivision. So this is regarding Native Village EAC owns the old EAC or Eagle construction site, warehouse building. We are looking at needing to build a clinic. I don't know if any of you guys have been in our clinic building or when it was the college, or heck, CEC, when they had where our admin is right now. That building's rough, and it's been rough, and we had engineering done on it in 2017, and we were told it was rough. And so we are trying to put Band-Aids on, knowing to build a clinic, but putting a clinic up is really eminent for us, for the safety of our patients as well as our staff. And to carry out the programs that we're trying to do for the community. So what we're looking at is we're applying to Indian Health Services joint venture program that would help us be able to carry this out. The last time this opened, we were in the top 10. I think we were number 8. They normally fund the top 10. And COVID happened, and so they only funded the top 5. So we've made it, I believe, to round 2 in this year's application, and it's only every 5 years or so that it opens. But it would allow us to start building and get the capital stack needed to get the building we're wanting done. We've estimated a new clinic. We're kind of fighting some of it. Depending on how many stories we did, our engineer was asking for somewhere between 8 and 10 acres. I think that's a bit much. I'm wanting to scale the building down. But I also figured land is always up for negotiation. It seems a little contentious in town. So you ask for what you want and see where it comes out. So in this track, we had initially looked at the portion that the city didn't have available because it's already flat. And then we thought, hey, wait a minute. What is open is the section between Eagle and to the cemetery on the highway. And there's about 8 acres there. And with doing the Shepherd Point project, we actually have blasters in town. And so it actually would line up for us for getting quotes on how much it would cost us to get that flattened out there. And then NVE also owns 20 acres out of 6.5 mile that we were planning to do a housing project on, only the cost of the rock made it not so great. So Being able to use that rock to then put it out on to 6.5 mile is kind of the identified plan of, hey, that's the next another step. NBE, I guess I should have said, I am one of the members of the Alonka Community Health Board. And so our health board has been meeting quarterly with CCMC's health board, and questions have arose of, hey, if you build a clinic, what's going on with the hospital? And in our mind, those are two completely separate things. We are not, with a new clinic, we are not building any services that to take away the negotiations that we're talking through with the CCMC Health Board as well as the city. So I just wanted to, in our mind, those are two completely separate issues, and we are continuing our discussions with the hospital board as well as with the city manager and eventually the city. So I wanted to speak to that and then be here if there was any questions from you guys. I also wanted to touch base real quick on your guys' unfinished business. That's probably, this is why we have get some Russ gets mad at me about it. In 2020, we moved our Alonka Cultural Center out of our main building due to COVID and the fact we couldn't run the cultural center during COVID, where we did all the back end stuff for our clinic with our finance and HR and everything. So that went down, then our clinic went down. And so we put it basically in the little hole in the wall of the old state trooper building. And in the hopes at the time we'd own the bookstore building, it was not big enough for what we wanted to do. And so we ended up selling that. We're looking for a new location. So we've been going through the planning process on a cultural center, and I am out in front of my skis a little bit, to be honest, although I've lightly been asking all of my tribal council, and we will be discussing this at our meeting, or both this as well as what happens tonight on our request for the highway land. But I foresee us being very interested in asking to purchase those 7 lots and put our cultural center, which I think cultural center, so it would have our museum, our gift store. So there is, we do pay property tax, and I want to address that because sometimes wrong information gets out there. The gift store does pay sales tax. But we're also looking for building it tall enough to have a tribal hall on top. There's no buildings now, including little chapels that are big enough to hold. I think even our staff party at the holidays was not, let alone our tribal member events. So we've been trying to support everything, and it looks like we'd like to build a little bit bigger space there. We're hoping with parking, those events are usually in the evening when it's not as big of a parking issue on Main Street or in the school. But I did want to put kind of a little thing in there, and I know reading from your packet that you guys were looking at possibly wanting housing in there. And that wouldn't be something that is part of our plan. I would say we're building a 6-plex right now. NB is actively moving from one thing to another. We know housing is a huge issue for this town, and the council has been trying to work to tackle it as well. In kind of the multiplex type things, not buying single family homes. We think that should be done by people in town. So, yeah. So if there's any questions, I'm here, but I just wanted to advocate for those 2 things. I guess I'll plug in for the forward stuff.
Can we ask questions?
I'm not even sure if we can ask.
Oh, I don't,
Yeah, it's guest speakers, it's different than
So
public.
if you have questions, go ahead.
So you want to take the rock that you would blast out of the highway and move it out to 6 Mile for future housing?
that was what our last plan, to be honest, that's another one that the last plan NB had was a full-on housing plan for out there. The current council has not taken that up, but I can't foresee any of our projects that we're doing that would be anything other than housing.
Yeah.
And that is one of, we're trying to, we have buildings that got stopped up that we've been needing to build and get done. But at the same time, everything we're looking at, we build a new clinic or we're trying to bring anybody to town, like, if we can't bring anybody to town to work at things, then it's an issue for all of us, so it's a huge thing that we're talking about as well.
You said you were gonna do a 20 unit up there, is it?
No, we own
20
20
acres.
acres out there.
Right.
We're doing a sixplex unit where, the EAC court building was
Yes.
on Lefevre.
Right.
Yeah, and that blue house is, I'm sure you guys.
You're just wondering what they're envisioning, how many houses out there?
I wanted to get my, I guess, facts straight. I couldn't remember if it was 20 acres, but it wasn't 20 units.
I
Right.
can't remember offhand. I know
Sure.
the last plan had
I just-
like low income, middle income and higher income things. And that was houses at the time, but the council now has been more of like, hey, should we be owning houses versus should we be owning or building things that are, like I said, multiplex? So
Right.
really putting, we have the capacity or capability of building those things when not everybody in town does.
Right.
And so how can we make the most bang for the buck there?
The 20 acres, if you don't mind me asking, location of that?
The location is, so you don't actually have to access where, into, what is that?
Yeah, drive.
Thank you, EAC Drive. It's past it, so it's on the far end, but it runs up to the highway. So
It's the road that goes for, is it
there's no road, like there's nothing there right now.
Ginkgo?
Doesn't it get bisected by that?
It
It's
would,
not a
it-
railroad grade, like someone actually tried to build a road back in the day and then got shut down by the
There
Corps or
is a
something.
road, I mean,
Like
you
that,
used to
is
be able to
that-
drive
is there-
through it, but.
I was
it
gonna say,
comes right
Luke
next-
Bohr used to own it, so I wouldn't be surprised we might be out there.
Right, well, and so it was, it's the one that goes by, Nico and Coley's.
It might be.
That road.
I mean. so
It is like a chunk that goes kind
This
of
is
long
Pet
and
Gale
skinny,
Ford properties.
straight toward, it's not the extra, like they're selling off a different chunk. Cause
Oh,
Bohr and, yeah,
yes,
like
Okay.
it's like a long skinny one, but it's longer going towards the highway and not behind all those houses.
oh, okay, so that's,
So this is at the, almost
That's
at
a little
the
further
end,
down.
a little further down, almost
Okay.
at the end, hitting the highway.
sure, sure.
So Dottie's not gonna be mad about building a bunch of stuff, cause I know she's trying to buy land, not have neighbors.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, I just wanted to.
It's on the other side of that new subdivision.
Yeah.
That just what, was it 2
Yeah.
years ago?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
on, if you're looking at it towards the highway, like from the air, you got EAC Drive here, and
Yeah.
then there's that pond where like
Yeah.
Dottie has her place, it's
Yeah.
over here.
yep, I got you, okay.
Okay. And then, Army Corps, with the new decision, so that was the other part, at the time we were looking at it. They would have had issue with us filling it all in, but because it isn't, like the water doesn't come in and out, it's landlocked. There's now no concern of us filling it in. But that's what we were, yeah, we just figured, hey, blasters are in town, like, hey, stars might be aligning for this. It also keeps us out of land that, the city can find usable, and that I don't really see anybody else in the city saying, hey, give me that piece of property that has to have a ton of rock done to do something with. And so I'm hoping that, you guys, as well as the city council, are amenable to do this. Knowing that, yeah, I don't have how many years it would be for us to build quite yet. And we are working on the engineering plans, so I don't have those quite yet to share with you all, so. But that's part of our application process for the joint venture.
Just a quick, we'll be discussing it. But the two options are to go out to an RFP or direct negotiations right away. Something like this, I don't see the city council not wanting to go to an RFP, so just so you know that in advance. Of course, I think sometimes the RFPs are a thing, but as long as you, that's something else we're working on, is getting the RFP.
I was gonna say a method for, okay.
Land disposal, so,
No, I understand that,
Yeah.
and,
it takes time.
everything does, here's the speed of government, but, Yeah, and if you guys decide to pass this through and it goes to you know,
Yeah.
we go in there and
Yeah.
advocating there as well. Hopefully with more information from my council over that. Topically, like, yes, we want that for sure. You guys very well could be seeing from NBE at your next meeting next month, letter of interest asking for those 7 months as well.
Well. You may be putting out an RFP,
Yeah.
at which time then they putting in.
Yeah.
RFP report.
I had one more too. You said 8 acres. Is what you're looking at this.
Yes, it's about 8 acres is what I think you're asking.
Is that what you have outlined there?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that took it right up to about where the cemetery is. When I was looking between your guys' different, the maps you sent us, the ones, yeah. I don't think we're wanting to miss, yeah. So I wasn't sure how the city felt about that. But since it was up for the open lots, figured we'd ask. One of the other things, MVE, I just put this out there, that we do have 40 acres behind the Eagle lot up by Bannon. And that's another thing that we're looking for possible housing. We've looked at it for a clinic and I thought, oh my gosh, we're gonna die if we put a clinic up there and try to get up and down in the winter. Much better for a housing place. So we are looking at the land that we do own for some of those big projects and just want to work in conjunction with the city on this to help make it a better place to live.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just here to answer any questions for the agenda item for the business storage.
Oh, okay.
Anyone have any questions, let me try to answer.
Actually, the next item, I believe, is the planner's report.
Does anybody have any questions on the planners report?
We go into a little more detail on what happened with the lot out.
Oh, the Breakwater Fill lot?
Yeah.
Okay, let me get there.
You didn't watch that council meeting?
I did not watch the council meeting, so I know.
Let's see. They kind of spoke to the history of that lot. It had been filled in 2013. For $1.5 million. The council believes currently this lot is not being put to its highest and best use. Multiple council members did voice their concerns with the history, track record, of the people who put the RFPs in, or I mean, the letters of interest in. And follow through on projects of the interested parties. The motion to go to RFPs failed 3-4 on this agenda item. It was pretty contentious and I don't do have any other questions, but they just said that they might think about doing an option where it's lease only, land disposal available lease only. So,
That prevents.
but they didn't ask the staff to do that, but that was thrown out there, so.
So we'll still go through the normal land disposal map update process, and as I've said many times, you know, if you have recommendations that aren't in line with the council, that's, you know, they need to hear what you guys want to hear, not what they're expecting you to hear, so.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. What do they want us to do for the land disposal map?
Well, you do
For that lot.
what you
They
do what
want you
you
to
want.
provide them a recommendation and then they'll do what they want.
Yeah.
And I mean that respectfully.
Couldn't somebody's mother be here today? Okay, anybody else have any other questions? Okay, moving on. Bypassing that letter of interest for lots 18 and 19, block 23, original town site. I don't even. Oh,
That's what she.
no,
but that, yes, would be.
It's the dentist. Their new dentist.
Okay. Oh, we already did finish. Okay.
Does anybody want to say anything about this? Make a motion,
Mr. Vice Chair,
sir.
I move to recommend the city council to dispose of lots 18 and 19, block 23, original town site as outlined in Cordova Municipal Code 7.40.060B by negotiating an agreement with Hassan Falsafi to lease or purchase the property.
Second.
Discussion to your motion.
So I did not get an opportunity to clamber around in that those lots specifically, but if I'm not quite mistaken, there is no real way to fill in that road easement as it is shown on the town plat. So it seems entirely reasonable to have those two lots. They seem to be most easily accessible through this residential lot, so that use case does not seem outrageous to me.
To your second.
Well, first off, I'm a big proponent for direct negotiation. These lots have been available for as long as I can remember. And before I've been on commission, which I've been here for a while. I agree with Councilman Ray or Commissioner Rainey's sentiment as well. Not really easily accessed. The city has water tank on the other side that we can't really get rid of. Let's make some money off this lot. City needs it. I don't see a lot of people going for this lot, and now we're in the future because of access issues, so.
Mr. Odell, do you have any comments?
No, I mean, I think if the new dentist is interested, and it seems like it's pretty challenging for anybody else to do the build and he has a plan, I think selling it might be in the best interest.
Judy?
It's terrific. We have to do a
They have recommended just going to direct negotiation without going through the RFP is what they're trying to do. We're just recommending to the city council to go, just go ahead and say, yep, negotiate it instead of going out to an RFP.
Okay.
Ma'am,
I agree with direct negotiations, and I just think that he's got a plan here, and it looks like it would be some revenue generating, and so then that would help the city too.
I have two concerns, access and utilities. Because it's not part of, there's a easement or there's a alley in between them. That's not being developed. And he's gonna be using them. Do we wanna have something dedicated through his existing one if he's gonna use access through it? And is he aware of what those utilities are gonna take to get the utilities to there? And is he gonna need the utility easement through his lot to get to those lots in case he wants to sell it?
So I'll let Amanda go if she has more information than I do, but just from my own, background and knowledge in the planning section. Yeah, but if as part of any deal to sell these lots,
Yeah.
we would need him to show how he's going to provide access to these lots and
Okay.
whether that's trying to attempt to use the right of ways as they exist. Or if he's going to provide access through his lots, and if that's the route that he's going to choose, then it would be required that. He would need to have a access easement recorded on those properties that grant future access into perpetuity for whoever owns those lots in the future.
Right.
And you could have a dual use easement where the easement's for both access and utilities. So yeah, I mean, that's a discussion that we need to have with him further. But yeah, that would be a lot, along with all the other requirements of a
part of the
land sale, that would be part of the negotiations is, yeah, exactly, showing us how you're going to provide access to the property. And then tying that to whatever method the council chooses to actually sell it, whether it's lease with option to purchase or some other means, as part of the development plan, the access would be included with that, not just the construction of the structures, so.
The location of those lots, that's like kind of up near that forest trail that goes up Mount Eak. I think it's like the Mount
Yeah.
Eak Trail, and then it also drops down behind in the forest in there down to the Coast Guard housing, right? And then I'm like looking at the map included in the attachments there.
Yeah, correct, you're in
Is
the right
that
area.
is that lot like maybe two north of there? There's like there's an easement that spurs off of Fifth Street for it's like platted for a new road. And then there's like a red roof there. Does anybody know? Is that the Losi's? Like I think that's Christina and Thais. Not Thais. Teal.
Yes.
Yeah, so there might be an easement that could then become an alleyway, like basically just due south of there.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that there's a platted alleyway between that block, just like there is with all the other town site, original town site blocks. So I mean, there are existing, unimproved right of ways to access it. The biggest hurdle is that the alleyway is only 14 feet wide as platted. And we don't own that last lot on the block. And so while they could potentially come in down that alleyway, and I think, that would probably be the preferred option just because it would provide access to that end lot. It might just be difficult due to the topography and the minimal width of that alleyway easement.
I think it's great they want to invest in the community.
So, go ahead and vote on the motion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on. Letter of interest for portion of track B, terminal ground B subdivision. And can I get a motion on that one?
Mr. Chair,
Sir,
I move to recommend to City Council to dispose of the requested portion of track B, terminal ground B subdivision approximately 8 acres in size as outlined in Cordova Municipal Code 7.40.060 by they request sealed proposals. Is that what council recommends, correct?
Yes. That's the RFP option.
Right, request sealed proposals to lease or purchase the property.
Second.
do your motion, sir.
I disagree with requesting sealed proposals. And the Native Village Yak has the means to do something like this with this lot. They're a great community asset. They're looking to improve everybody's way of living and life in Cordova, and I'm for that. So. All I have.
I was gonna say almost exactly that. I would like them to go into direct negotiations. But I know that they always say that they want to go to RFP, which is silly because this land has been available and people have had the option. And I think that Native Village VX has a good plan, and then taking that rock and using it to fill in an area that is unusable to anybody else for housing is pretty big.
I do want to remind you that you guys can make choices that the planning commission, as a planning commission, and then bring it to the city council with what your actual opinion is. Because they're asking for that, they're not asking for you to tell them what they want to hear, so.
Yeah, city council can grumble and grouch all they want. We tell them what we want to tell them.
They grumble and grouch regardless of what you say. Nothing.
I only have one major concern for this location as a clinic, and that's pedestrian access. Yeah, it's right along the highway. Currently, as it stands, I don't think that it's particularly safe to get there any other way than by driving. So I would be curious if there's any kind of plan to have any kind of pedestrian access to that location. I know that's along the state road, so.
I mean, you could recommend the council as part of negotiations with whoever develops that land that, you know, part of selling it would be providing pedestrian access. I mean, we're not forcing them to develop it and we're not forcing them to buy it. And so that could be a term or condition of a sale of that property is providing access, you know. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for that to be done, because I mean, the sidewalk already does go to the White Shed intersection, so it would just be a matter of extending the sidewalk that additional, whatever that is, 1,000 feet. I mean, you know, not to bring the lower 48 ways up here, but you want to develop anywhere in the lower 48, you're doing frontage improvements along your entire frontage of your property, which means you're putting in gutter, curb, gutter, sidewalk, landscaping strip, all that sort of stuff. I mean, you can require that along the frontage of the property that the person owns. This is a different case because it's our property, and I don't know if we could force them to do that. Not on the frontage of our existing property, but I also would think that, you know, with NVE being the, you know, community partner that they are, and they would want to provide safe access to it, it's something that we could, you know, suggest as part of a sale. But at a minimum, I mean, I think we could require some sort of frontage improvements along at least that portion of the property.
Yeah, certainly, I would want to include that in any.
Can we ask the Native Village VX chairwoman what their opinion is of it at this point, or?
You're welcome to bring anyone forward as you see fit. This is your meeting.
On the discussion you guys have been having?
Yes, basically the pedestrian access.
Oh, I want to address something else either. Can't help myself. I think that there would be I'm not saying that, I don't think there'd be any issue on the lot that we're asking for. Where there would probably be discussion on the council side is improving in front of lots that aren't ours to get there. I could see that as, you know, basically. Sometimes, you know, NVE has been a good community partner and, you know, giving money to the school when the city can't, so programs don't happen. The health board is using engineering report we paid $800,000 to do repairs on the hospital. Like, I feel like just because NVE has deep pockets, everyone's like, oh, well, they can improve our stuff too. And I would caution on the other part of what I wanted to comment on is there's only so many lots that are big enough to put a clinic that we need. And that when we were looking at the lot, you know, the early times, and I always thought they were ridiculous saying, hey, the clinic next to the hospital, and that's gonna work. No, if we were to ask for that, we'd be taking all of Hollis Hendricks Park. we want it close to town. So if it goes out to RFP, what you're basically saying is, we want to take the chance that we're not going to have a clinic. And this is the clinic that sees more people than our city clinic in our community. And so I would even be saying, hey, as a community service, man, don't throw roadblocks on this. Like, do you want a clinic or not? Because in all honesty, we're not excited about staying in the building we're at, and we do want to get one done. And it's for the benefit of all of us, or anybody who goes there anyway, I don't want to assume. But to go to the dentist even, the dentist is in that building and they'll be at the new one. So I would advocate to, hey, can we streamline this a bit? It's land that nobody's asked for years. Instead of saying, hey, let's put it up for everybody. I think definitely it's not unreasonable in front of our property. My hackles got up a little bit of like, oh, one more thing. So we're gonna go to RFP. And now we're gonna have to fix the land to access in front of not our property. It feels like, hey, we're getting asked to jump through more hoops than other community members would be asked to do. So that was just my thought, unless you guys have other questions for me. But
That's city council.
I know. I'm just saying, as you guys are deliberating, like you guys are choosing how you're going to recommend it going forward. And so I'm advocating to you guys today, like I'll advocate to them next week, but.
Mr. Chair,
Sir,
I move to amend the motion to strike request deal proposals and lease or purchase to lease or purchase the property to negotiate an agreement with Native Village B Act to lease or purchase the property. Second.
I
Third.
don't know if you two can do that because you were
You
the-
made the original.
Yeah. To the motion. All those, is there any
No, you have to,
discussion?
you have to vote on the amended motion first.
Right.
And you can have additional, you can
I need,
discuss the amendment. If there's no discussion on the amendment, then you would vote on the amendment, then there would be discussion on the motion as amended,
right,
and then you could vote on the main motion as amended.
Can I not second him?
I don't know if that really matters.
we're gonna have her second,
But-
she seconded, he thirded, so.
Yeah, no, I do feel like that is, as she was saying, that is an additional hurdle that I do not believe is necessary in this case. That is pretty, in my opinion, pretty near undeveloped lot without the resources that NV has to throw around. So I don't see that there's any particular reason to go to RFP.
Yeah, it would be a mistake not to miss this opportunity. If we keep sitting on our hands, the money for doing this is going to fly off the table and go to another community. This is like such a super win for us in so many different ways that it's hard to count. So let's keep it in our RFP, just going to negotiation. Saves us time, saves us lives, saves us, saves our community.
Any other discussion on it? Sean?
No, I'm in agreement with the folks in the room that are supportive of this.
Okay, on the motion, oh, you do have something.
I do, of course. Like I said before, I'm a very big proponent about direct negotiations. Sometimes things need to be done to streamline, so that may be a little bit of my reasoning on that, so. Agreed.
If nobody else has further discussion, we will vote on the amendment. To amend it to direct negotiations. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Everybody. Now, is there any discussion on the amended motion?
I would speak further on the pedestrian access issue. So I do acknowledge that that is that is a pretty big ask to yeah, for a third party entity to take on that responsibility. On the same token, this is a medical facility. It is for the betterment of the community as its fundamental like that's you know what it's for. Having it accessible in that way is, I think, very important, very fundamentally important. So if NVE does not have the resources to make that change themselves, I just think that it is important that they and the community, the city, the state can all come together to make that happen collectively, because I don't think that yeah, I think that it is a very important part of the project.
I just ask,
Go ahead.
can I just ask what you envision when you say pedestrian accessibility? Like sidewalks?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Um,
much sidewalk, yeah.
okay,
Either along the highway or up from Laferd.
Well, it's a good timing then, I guess, because we got this the AML group that's trying to help us figure out, public safety issues. So, I mean, we could put that resource to use and have them try to help figure out a pedestrian corridor.
It'd be a lot less distance if you came from North Weaver.
But Beaver has no
So it doesn't have anything.
pedestrians, on.
But it's
on the
not
highway side from Chase.
But Brooke was also just mentioning that they're working on a triplex or a new housing where the old EAC Corp building was. So if there was a sidewalk maybe going in on that corner, maybe could it be stretched to then get to the highway? There'd still be the issue of crossing the highway, but
well,
It's on the highway. I think there's 4 property owners. Yeah, there's 3 or 4 property owners.
and the Forest Service, the Forest Service?
They're one of the property owners. Yeah.
directly across is the new fire station. Right here.
Hold their breath for that.
Yeah. Well, if they got blasters, that would be the time to blast out more of that lot. That put all our emergency stuff in one spot. Okay, any further discussion? We're just recommending negotiations.
Yeah, would the pedestrian access have to be included in an amendment, or is that something that
I just don't want that to be a deal breaker.
Yeah, I mean, you could either do it as an amendment that you would recommend that be a requirement or a suggestion or whatever you want to do with that. Unless there's no one opposes to it, then it could just be put in as general agreement that something like that goes in, but it doesn't sound like there's general agreement on that, so.
I don't want to, I just don't want it to be a deal breaker. I would assume that when they do their architect thing and all their designs, I mean, they're not just gonna plop it in there in the dirt, the dirt area. They probably will have, I would assume, some nice landscaping and probably, who knows? Who knows what it'll look
And
like,
again, I mean, from a legal sense, like, we can't require them to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we wanted to require anything, we could require it along the frontage of the property that they're buying, but we can't require them to do it anywhere that's not along the property that they're developing.
could be made a recommendation.
And do we have a general agreement that it should be a recommendation anyway?
Put it in as a recommendation, but not a deal breaker. I think that they will see it as a value if they can figure out how to do it. Time and fashion. I mean, the tourists will walk out there and buy from us. People in wheelchairs in the summer will tool out there and buy from us. I can see where it's not a bad thing, but there might not be money to do.
Well, it's just gonna be the clinic or the hospital.
Well, we're thinking about putting,
No, that's a difference.
That's up on, by the great store, across the street. That's where they're putting that.
That's right. Thinking about that.
Yeah, so this is just the clinic. Out at, on the
But it
highway.
might end up getting, more. You never know. You never
At
know.
best, it's our, maybe our like family services, because we're in a rented building, but we're looking for wellness things, not necessarily other. Flower shop?
Oh my gosh.
I'm turning my grandma's greenhouse back into that, okay? I'm working on it.
have a little flower shop in there, and you take them in for information.
Well, and you know, I don't want to speak on behalf of NVE or anything like that, but they do have patient service for people that can't walk to their appointments. They do have transportation, so I don't think, you know, that they would let somebody in a wheelchair just try to figure out on their own how to get out to a new clinic. Those are always options too.
So where are we on that? You got a recommendation? Do we have to vote on that or? Just make it part
Call
of
the vote on the original motion.
the
Well,
amended original motion?
is anyone opposed to putting a recommendation in to suggest that they provide a pedestrian connection?
Nobody's opposed?
Then in our notes, we will put that there was a suggestion that the council suggests that they create a pedestrian connection. Thank you.
So now. The amended motion to go to negotiations.
Direct.
Okay, direct. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, moving on.
Conditional use permit, page 29.
Page 29, conditional use permit for lot 4. A Northfield Development Park edition number 2.
Mr. Chair,
Sir,
I move that the planning commission grant the conditional use permit requested by Bayside, submitted by Bayside Storage, Paul and Linda Kelly, and to adopt and incorporate the findings and conditions of approval within the staff report as per staff's recommendations of 1.
Seconded.
any discussion?
I think for future use of this lot, housing upstairs is great. Especially if this conglomerate is separated in future years. Yeah, we do have a housing shortage. And but I don't feel that we want to make it more residential than commercial, so I would like to see the staff's recommendation of 50% less of residential upstairs and upstairs only.
Yeah, no, I'm in broad agreement. I think that this does a fairly good job of future proofing the site. So
Yeah.
This the land, we just need to do it. Now.
the only thing, the only question I had was, it will be two units up top. One is like has the potential to have a family, like a pretty, like 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, is that?
So it might possibly be a 4-bedroom or, and a 1, or it could be a 3-bedroom and a 2. They might move the wall. So they're still deciding on that. But it is gonna be 2 units, 2 residential units upstairs.
But the staff report had recommendation of reduction. Didn't catch that.
Just limiting the
The residential.
percentage of
use.
space that can be used for non-industrial or commercial purposes, since it is an industrial zone, we want to encourage the ability to use it for residential while not losing that the primary use of the space is for non-residential.
I would go with staff's recommendation.
And while we can't guarantee who's going to live there, I do know that they typically target the Coast Guard since it's right there. And so even if they had a 3 or 4 bedroom unit, you know, they would potentially rent that out to multiple coasties.
Single.
Yeah, you know, cause I know that's what they do currently. Again, we can't guarantee who they're going to rent it to in the future or limit who they rent it to. But based on my conversations with Paul and just knowing some people that live in his other units, that's typically who they're going after, because it is across the street and it's convenient for them, so.
I know. I'm gonna jump in here, that all the bedrooms actually have access to the hallway, but they don't have outdoor access. They don't have a window access. Isn't that a fire safety thing, or?
It'll have to go through fire safety review with the state fire marshal, but I believe it just has to have 2 forms of egress. And so it does, I don't believe it has to be to an outside space. But again, they'll have to get that approval through the state fire marshal, so they might have to flip flop some things around, but either way, that'll be required before we're allowed to issue a building permit. That would be required whether they did the CUP or not, because they could do 1 unit in here. I mean, they could do this in a dorm and have 20 units or whatever, you know, and just have it as 1 dwelling that's shared amongst everybody, because bunkhouses are allowed in the space. It would still be required to go through a fire and life safety review. Because number 1, its primary use is commercial. And so no matter what, it's gonna be reviewed for fire and life safety with the state.
We also don't know what's gonna be underneath it.
Yeah, and that's part of the building plan review is, it's been a while since I've done all this, so I can't remember the exact technical jargon, but based on whatever the use classification is for the space below, then determines, the building code then dictates what sort of fire separation there has to be between the lower portion of the building and the upper portion of the building to allow for enough fire rating. So if there was a fire in the lower portion, that it's not going to spread throughout the building in a quick manner, so. I don't know this for sure, but I'd also assume this building's gonna be required to be sprinkled, so.
And we're just doing a conditional use permit. It doesn't go through the city council or anything.
Nope, you are the final decision maker on the conditional use permit, and then separately, this will come back again for a site plan approval. This zone requires site planning approval. Unfortunately, we were not able to get that to you today. We initially were planning on that, but just due to issues, we weren't able to complete the review in a timely manner and discovered that there were some missing items that if we brought it to you, you wouldn't have been able to approve it tonight. And so we're working with the applicant for them to get that corrected as quickly as possible. And then we'll possibly reach out about doing a special meeting so that we can get that in front of you sooner than the next meeting, just because they are trying to get this constructed as soon as possible. And we don't want to delay that process. So may come to you to request a special meeting here in the next week or 2, depending on how quickly they can get those revisions back to us. And so that would be a review for actually the placement of the building on the lot. Whereas this is just an approval for the use of the residential use.
Now,
So
is that 50% of the entire building or just the 2nd floor?
50% of the entire building.
The entire building, so they could do the entire upper floor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you go with the condition that staff suggested, it's the same condition that we placed on the CTC conditional use permit, and so we just thought it was appropriate to stay in line with that.
So their plan does work, sort of.
Yeah,
And there's parking.
the parking will be addressed as part of the
Site plan.
the site plan review, but they're required to have 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit. It's not, our code doesn't base it on the number of bedrooms, it's based on the number of dwelling units. And then the storage space requires, I believe it's 1 space per 1,000 square feet of storage space. So I think we roughly calced it out, and they're gonna be required to have like 10-ish parking spaces total, or 10 to 12, something like that. So when that site plan review comes to you, that they'll have to show where those dedicated parking spaces are at, so.
Sure.
I would suggest a, special meeting for the site plan review, just because I know how tight the building time frame is in Cordova, that if he's trying to move forward fast, let's all about moving forward with it, so.
Yeah, we'll definitely approach you all as soon as we hear from them, how quickly they can get that back to us. We'll get in touch with each of you and see next time we can get a quorum to do that review. You know, we don't, this was unintentional, but we want to try to make it right and get this back in front of you as quick as possible, so.
Any further discussion? Sean, did you have anything?
I have nothing to add.
Anybody else? Going once. All right. Vote on the motion, on the conditional use permit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That's done.
I'm not voting what you guys did. I'm not voting. Not at all, promise.
Moving meetings.
I'm voting him. Cause he didn't have to defend anything.
Oh. Shipyard expansion. Is our next one. I'm gonna open this up to Mr. Rainey.
Okay, so yeah, we talked about the shipyard expansion back in November, November, December.
It's October or November.
It was a long time ago.
I think it's actually in the meeting packet. Did we put it in here? Yeah, the October 8th meeting.
October 8th. So it has been a hot minute, but yeah, my original opinions haven't changed drastically. I think that something that would make this site a lot more usable and attractive to people, coming in, working on their boats, not taking them down to over to Seward or even all the way down to Seattle, as having a large covered structure for people to work on their boats. I think it should be a city-owned facility that the city can lease out to individuals. As far as its location, I think that the harbor master was compelling in his argument that it should be in addition to, not like an additional part of the pad, not built on the existing pad. If we can get the funding for it. There is that anadromous stream right in the corner of that. So I was thinking that we could either partition off a bit of that and make a little artificial lagoon, kind of redirect that stream, maybe even make some additional spawning habitat. Or have it going off of the end here, or even beefing up the shoulder of that road and having the boat lift go over more towards Hippie Cove, and we could have an additional fill site over there. But I will defer to engineers on what the best idea there is, but no, if anyone else has any thoughts, I would be delighted to hear them.
I did have a question there, I guess a couple of things, the lot. The small lot there, so the. Off the field dock. That's all our time lease too as well?
I believe so, that long one.
Yes.
I do believe so. I don't know why I didn't label that, but
That's okay, and then
if I remember-
the little one. Abutting up against the parking lot there,
that one I'm not 100% certain, because I know some of that shipyard land was sold to, I believe, Chugach. Or one of the native corporations, okay, yeah, so I'm not certain if that little piece there was, but some of the actual uplands that was created is no longer in our ownership. I mean, obviously, along with the the containers space. But
On the land disposal maps, you can see the space there, that's ours.
Which page is that?
This is on a page,
A page.
a page.
Is it the north?
I
think it's
think
43.
That's 71, 2, 3.
okay, so yeah, no, it does look like we own that piece. We currently lease that to the state of Alaska DOT ferry system.
okay, gotcha, yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay, I
that,
just
and
wanted
then
to
that
make
little
sure.
one that's not colored in red, that's the one I was referring to, that was sold off to, I believe it was Chugach. You can see there's that one that's not colored in,
Yes,
yeah. But yeah, you can see we own all that Tidelands right there, and we do own the blue ones, but they're currently leased. The leases for those, I don't know if it does expire this year, but I don't know if they have any renewals, so we have to check into those coming up and see if we need to start the land disposal process with them to renegotiate those leases, or if they're going to just be exercising renewals, but we'll have more info on that later.
that one lot in shipyard, the bigger of the ones.
Yeah.
So that was sold to Chugach?
No, if you look,
I think he's talking
Yeah.
about this little block here.
Off the end of the.
the
field lot?
larger of the little lots.
Yes, that's what I mean,
Yeah,
the one that's not colored in red.
yes, I believe it's Chugach.
Oh. This one,
Yes.
okay, yes.
When did that happen?
Yeah, that one. Tony would know more, I don't know. But we don't have ownership of that.
What do they do with it?
They lease it,
Uh,
they lease it for,
it's
storage.
the oil spill,
You know, I think we.
or no, you guys do,
Yeah, I
own
was
it.
gonna
yeah,
say,
it's
We
your.
don't own it, we rent it.
Are you,
Yeah, you
yeah, they
rent
lease
it.
it from Chugach, and it's where you have your oil spill, supplies. Yeah,
Supplies.
so yes, NVE leases it from Chugach for NVE to store their oil spill response supplies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know when Chugach took? Brooke?
I don't, but was it part of this trade from Lefevre lot? Cause Lefevre cuts Chugach's Lutheran home site property there at the end. Lefevre and Lady from the Chase. And there was a big little nubbin on the lakeside. And I know the city has that up
Yes,
for bid,
right,
and I bet it has something to do with that. I could be wrong, I don't know for sure.
thank you. So I know from past history with talking with Tony and stuff, and also dealing with the fuel dock down there. Fishing and washing boats and stuff, the tide just rips through here. And that, pulling boats into the docking there for the boat lift, the tide just howls through there. And I don't know if it would be, a great idea to come out here.
Maybe even on the other side then.
Well, I think because the tide rips through here so hard. If you built out here, it would block a lot of this. I mean, it would be good, something to talk with the harbor
Like a
master on.
breakwater.
Yeah, almost like a breakwater and extend that lot.
Yeah,
out.
I think definitely if this project ever advanced that far, we would definitely bring that concern up to engineers. But I think, yeah, you know, if you're talking about in this area, extending it out far enough to almost create a cove or like it's ultimately a little harbor, not harbor area, but basically a little harbor area that would
Mhm.
kind of isolate it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's something that should be explored.
Yeah, so that would be kind of a two birds, one stone thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I do understand that. Obviously, that's gonna be deeper. Gonna take substantial amount of fill compared to the. Tidelands, you know, the mud flats up there next to road frontage. But we do have the issue with the. I guess you'd call it a fish creek. There are fish.
I think that if we absolutely just filled that thing in, they would find somewhere else to spawn.
Well, I mean, there is a pond, I mean.
Yeah, they're pigs, they're not actually spawning in the river, they're spawning on the beach, they just like.
There is the pond, I'm guessing that's a little overflow there, but, I do believe I have seen silvers there, but I've also seen silvers spawning in mud puddles, so. Yeah, just a thought, because I know that at the other side of that is where we have docked. Landing craft before multiple times from different companies. So with multiple different vessels, it allows easy access for them to come in and sit on the mud. So that may be something that, you know, for future discussion that we'd want to talk with. If they would like to keep an area for that, that might be a good option on that corner as well.
Another bow rack. Did they not?
nobody motioned to open this for the resolution.
I thought this was just a discussion.
No, there's a resolution for you to vote on tonight.
My mistake.
I think, yeah, sorry about that. Still,
It says no motion required.
did that not get updated? Nope, that did not get updated. Sorry, I'm still,
Kevin's.
yeah, I'm still learning how to train a planner. It's
So,
not her fault. I've just never had to train a planner before, so I don't know.
Okay, what would be the appropriate motion?
Can we even make an motion?
Cause it wasn't noticed.
Great call. You know, unless you're worried that someone's gonna sue us, yeah, I mean, legally, I guess probably we're not supposed to pass this resolution tonight.
Can we do this? Presuming that we have our
Special meeting?
special meeting,
Yes.
can we?
Yeah. So if you want to continue your discussion, we will bring this back for a vote on the resolution at either the special meeting or the next regular meeting.
Excellent.
So apologies on that. So anyway, sorry, continue on.
We're just getting final discussion.
I do know that, would be a heck of a lot easier to fill up on the mud flats with road frontage access, especially butting up against where the current. Is. You know, takes substantially less material. I might. Also add to a certain chair in the room that if they have excess material from a possible. Drilling and blasting site, we might have a place to possibly dump it.
They don't use it all somewhere else. They don't already have a buyer.
Excess. Cordova.
Place to dispose of your waste.
Had a few tribal members when you talk about that, so.
Perfect.
We probably have lots of places.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's lots of ideas.
There's a lot of rock there though.
Yeah.
You know, how steep you want that? Left.
I was wondering, yeah, I didn't get to see the Harbor Commission meeting. Was there any particular like interesting comments that we should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically captured in their resolution on page
65.
65. you know, they made all the points that you all discussed briefly before directing them to chime in further, but you know.
Oh, you do have a resolution in here for us.
Yeah, we just didn't update the memo correctly, unfortunately. But yeah, you know, I mean, it'll support the fishing industry as well as vessel manufacturing and repair. Encourage wintertime business and industries. You know, they'd ultimately like to see some sort of a shipyard building built. You know, this could be supported by fill material from city property that's located across the street. I don't have any. I have yet to actually dig in and get the like historical knowledge on this. People on the commission may know, but I know that when this was discussed in the past and it got, you know, quote unquote, close to being actually done in the past, the city had considered doing a trade with a contractor that might be willing to do this project, because I mean, this is not going to be a cheap project. And there was a discussion at one point where literally we own the hillside across the street. You could blast that, just bring the material straight over. And as part of the compensation for the project is, you know, like for every acre that they fill, they get an acre. And we would figure out some way to divide the shipyard up so that the city would retain a portion, but then whoever built it would have a portion that they could sell off or use as they see fit to recoup their costs. Because again, I mean, this isn't something that the city's going to be able to afford out of their own pockets. And projects like this are typically hard to find grants for. You know, I don't see us finding quote unquote free money, which grants are never free money because you always have to have a match and the administration of them and all that sort of stuff. And so I think we do need to consider some sort of creative financing solutions for this. The harbor also can't take on much more debt until they get the existing harbor project paid off and things like that. So, but that's kind of where that comes, that whereas comes from is the fact that in the past, there have been discussion about using the hillside across the street as an easy source for fill material.
I'm not sure if it. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and I was just going through the rest of the whereases, just, you know, decrease the harbor's environmental impact, allowing upgrades and maintenance to occur on land where the debris can be, where as when it's done in the water, debris can be lost in the water. And increase harbor user safety and decreasing city liability by using off-water facilities and making repairs and increase transportation opportunities that could lead to potential deep water port and so on. So. But yeah, that was pretty much the Harbor Commission's discussion was along those points.
Talking about the history of that, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong with this, I think that they had talked about not necessarily straight across from the street, but the burn pile pit area there. We own that whole pit. And that's good shot walk out of there as well. So I think that might have been part of the discussion, but I couldn't be incorrect on that.
I wouldn't, could be both. Yeah, I was gonna say, I wouldn't doubt if it was both locations, because yeah, if you do look at page. I guess we were figuring out what page 86, you know, you can see the orange area. We own that hillside area across the street. So, you know, we could have it blasted in a way that potentially a road could be built at the same time, you know, they could blast it in a way to leave a ramp, and then that would get access up to that area up above. But yes, also the burn pile / quarry area would be a good source of material as well, and an area that the city's been looking into for maybe a potential future location of the water tank that needs to be replaced for the Morpack tank. You know, so I mean, there's lots of ways that this could be, you know, help different things in different ways, so, yeah.
And then a potential. Call that natural gas company. They were the ones that were wanting to do the build out there,
Okay.
and that would be their plan area.
Okay.
And then brought them from town or from there to town with their piping. There was a company that was interested in bringing natural gas to Cordova. And the shipyard was a good option for them because they were looking at converting the power plant to natural gas. And then also moving forward with bringing natural gas to the homes and businesses in town. For heating.
Okay.
And they were gonna do like what he was saying. Trade land for land.
And were they planning on digging a well here?
I know they were gonna have tanks and storage, and that would give them the option of having a dock there too. Or maybe not necessarily a dock, but they could dock at the ocean dock. And then run plumbing kind of as similar as to shoreside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, need some more discussion needs to be put on this one at this time. We're all kind of
Good discussion.
good discussion and we'll vote on this resolution at our next meeting.
Would be happy with that.
Okay, so the next item is land disposal map. This is a resolution? Let me get
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, this is
Too big of a package.
Yeah. Page 67.
Mr. Chair,
Sir,
I move to approve resolution 25-01 recommending that city council adopt the 2025 land disposal maps as presented. Seconded.
discussion, to your motion.
No discussion, just bringing it forth. Looking to move forward with yet another one of these.
No, I don't think anything has changed too drastically since last year.
Knows the company line ones, but yeah.
The cemetery on the Power Creek Road. The cemetery is listed in the available required subdivision. And I'm pretty sure we talk about this every year.
Yeah, it's remained the same there. Requires subdivision because we will retain that portion.
Okay,
So they would need to subdivide that off if they
Okay.
wanted a piece of that property.
I just had a couple people say, why
And
is cemetery in there?
It does state that on the cover page.
Okay,
It does say, let's see, available requires subdivision. And then it says many of these parcels contain city improvements that would not be disposed of, such as access roads, water infrastructure, trails, cemeteries, etc.
okay.
So it does have that. in it.
I just don't know that if people, when they're pulling the maps up on the city's website.
Very first page.
Yeah, it does have it on the very first page,
Well, I
but
don't
if
know
they
if they're reading
skip, if they skip over it,
Yeah.
it's something that, obviously, we're not selling the cemetery. But it
That's
is a
friendly.
portion of that land that can be you could subdivide a section off that is
Yeah.
not the cemetery location.
I'm like,
Is there any way to draw a little box around where the cemetery is with a big X through it?
Put red on there,
Yeah,
I could
have
definitely,
a surveyor come in.
yeah,
but it's part of a big lot, just like their big lot that they want. You gotta
subdivide and then take the section.
now.
So, I mean, I've told two people now, I'm like, I'm pretty sure the cemetery is not up for,
Right.
I've had that discussion also,
okay,
but it is
probably with the same people.
addressed, probably.
Yeah.
It is addressed on the cover page there to specifically exclude cemeteries and things like that.
I think it's just when they see it, they're like, it's okay.
We would love for you to maintain the cemetery in perpetuity forever. So.
Right.
Yeah, somebody.
What part of the thing did you see?
There. Where did I see them? The 2000 going to the 2025 disposal maps.
Did we, just out of recommendation, and in the past, we've just gone map to map instead of
Page by
flipping
page.
back. and
Right.
forth.
You wanna do that?
Or, I mean,
It seems easier that way that we're all on the same thing.
And in the memo, it does give you the background information of what was changed in the 2025 maps, and it itemizes that out for you in the background information.
Yeah, those are the staff suggested changes for your recommendation.
So what, I'm sorry?
The staff recommended changes.
Or in the background section of the memo, it goes page by page. Yeah. But
So
yeah,
we're gonna go through this page by page right now.
Yes.
Okay.
so are you gonna go through the 24 maps, or are you going to start on the 25 map that staff has already made suggested changes?
I'm just gonna use the 25 maps.
Yeah.
Okay, so starting on page 84.
Thanks.
If I can get back to them.
And on the cover page, the changes are all highlighted in red. So that you can see what was changed.
This is the big PowerPoint.
84 right here. There you go.
There. Um. Recommendation. Okay, so the New England Camry. Don't really.
So New England Cannery, the only changes that staff made were to just reflect the new right of way. That now goes for the Shepherd Point Road. You can see. Where previously those lots used to touch up against Orca Lodge, they now are back up the hillside to represent the new right of way. And there is you'll see that there's a little speck there. Yeah, that's not a mapping error. That was left on purpose to indicate that that area is not available due to the presence of yeah, graves. Or I believe it's just one grave that's actually located.
2 graves were located, there were probably more of them.
Yeah, off the report that I saw that, and I'm not one way or the other, the report I saw is that they found 2 graves, but then determined that one of the graves was actually some rotting pallets. Yeah. But that's just what I read.
Never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Don't wanna find out.
So,
Decades ago, I saw graves out there. And it was.
So I don't see any issues there. Ocean Dock subdivision. There are no changes.
Yeah.
Northville.
and if there's changes that you wanna make, I guess now would be the time to discuss them as you go through page by page. So if there's no changes that commission wants to recommend to the council for New England or Ocean Dock, but just make sure that as you're going through, you give everybody a chance in case there's your own personal changes you want to suggest or discuss.
Going on to the Northville, they just removed the lot that we've already talked about today. So. Impound lot. Removed.
I have a question.
Sir.
Number 1.
Yes. Mobile grid?
Yes.
Yes.
Is the status on that? Isn't there a performance clause on that?
Yeah, Amanda's been working on that. She has some more information for you.
So we've given notice on that there is a performance clause and that we are looking for them to complete the build on that property before, the time is up on that, so.
8.
Huh?
8.
That would be July 1st of
15th.
2025,
I believe it's the 15th.
do you think so? Possibly the 15th.
July of-
It is July
Yeah, July of
of
this year.
2025,
This summer.
yes.
Okay. I did have a question, and this is not to get off topic too much. I see AML has owned property, but also is that number 3, is that leased property to them?
Yeah, correct, because it's tidelands there, so I'm not certain if they built and owned the dock. I assume that they did. But we own the tidelands for the dock.
Yeah, they don't necessarily have a dock, they have a ramp.
Or I
but
guess it's a rent, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but either way, yes, they lease that area for where they. Pull up the barge and have their equipment there.
so, and this is just, like I said, not to get off topic, but they are currently. Using where their dolphin is on the north side of that, just in the pink right there. They're parking a landing craft and landing it there where the white connexes are on land.
Okay.
And will be until July.
Okay. I,
Just like I said, not to get off topic, but
we can check about that and see what's up with that.
sure.
Anything else on Ocean Dock? Moving on to North Phil. Got rid of the impound lot.
We did.
Yeah, we're going
You
to.
got bumped back. Just confused too. Tidewater Development Park in Cordova Industrial Park. He says there's no changes. Do we want to make any changes to this?
Yeah, I think we want to talk about that,
To break water, or, from what I understand, it may still be available. They just need somebody to put in a reasonable RFP. So. So it's still available. I just needed to know if we wanted to change it, but. The city council will get a chance to look at these and they can make the determination. If they don't want it, they can make that call.
What about number 1?
We're actually going to be following up with city council at next week's meeting. They had asked us to put off the determination on what to do with that until after budget. Now budget's gone and went. We weren't able to get it on the last couple agendas just because of other items that were on there. And so next meeting, they never actually directed staff whether to do direct negotiations or go out for an RFP. So that's still the step that it's stalled at. And so next week's meeting, we'll be asking for direction on that.
And that's the chamber, right?
Correct. Yeah, so yeah, their lease did expire in January or at the end of December, so they're in a holdover status right now. And like I said, next week at city council, we anticipate getting direction on how to move forward with that.
That also shows on Old Town. Which is the next page. In that right away. Up there off the ski hill. That expires and that goes to the utility.
Yeah, a portion of their building encroaches onto our lot, and so, while we don't necessarily have to lease that entire space to them, I think it was just done that way out of ease, when it was put out previously. But yeah, that's why that's leased to them, is just that a portion of their structure kind of comes over the corner of the property line. So, yeah.
It should be fixed if we ever get somebody to. Do something with the requires subdivision right next to it. To adjust it so that. That little portion can be surveyed out and sold to the utility.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Cause there's a good lot, there's a couple of good lots you could put on. The south side of the Ski Hill Road.
Yeah, tucked into that corner there on
Yep.
the southeast corner.
Just re-subdivide it all into 1 or 2 lots. And then get rid of the right of ways, direct access. Okay, moving on, Southville Development Park.
I have,
Oh. On what?
I guess this is coming off of. Upper Davis.
Below Muse,
Yes,
yes,
so you got the one lot and then you got a little triangle in front of it.
yes.
Why are those not available?
I need to confirm this, but I've heard there was some sort of land swap that was done and that those were supposed to be dedicated as park and green space. I haven't looked in to see the documentation to confirm that. This is just the word of mouth that I've gotten over the time that I've been here. So that's my understanding of it, but again, I have not confirmed that.
I'd be interested to hear on that.
Yeah, we
If that's not the case, that should probably be made available, in my opinion.
we can definitely look into that.
Which lot was that one?
If you look at the map where the words Council Avenue are that are directly below the Muse Apartments. And then if you go directly north of the Muse Apartments, there's two red lots. One is almost a rectangle with a little notch out of it, and then there's a triangle to the north of that.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, we can look into the history of that and bring back some more information on that.
Anything else on Old Town? Southville. We have two title lots that were sold. Redesignation of 10A Southville to available, and the available require subdivision.
Yeah, so we had made that area as available in the last land disposal updates. I realized afterwards, that it should have been available requires subdivision. Because, the entire lot actually includes that triangle piece. So currently it's platted as that entire chunk right there. And, the city plans, we would like to retain that triangle piece, or at least some of that triangle piece. We could negotiate it potentially being slightly smaller, for two reasons, first is to preserve future right of way in case, we ever do additional fill to the south of the South Fill. So then a right of way could be built, to access that area. Secondly is to, retain some parking space down in the harbor area. And also because it is where we keep the recycling bins, and so we want to continue to keep those in the same area. And so while that triangle piece could potentially be made smaller than it currently is, that's just how it's drawn at this time, so.
Anything?
Also, I don't remember the dates, but we're gonna have to correct on the leases. One of those two is wrong because we just did a new lease, and I think it's for number 2, so that, we'll just need to correct the date on that, but that's a minor correction that we can do, whether, or if you approve the maps tonight. But just to let you know, I don't remember the date of it, but we did just, it was either 24 or 23 that the council, passed a new lease for AC to continue to use that parking lot space.
If I understand this right. Number 1 is,
All 3 of those lots.
They're working on.
Yeah, they have one lease for those 3 lots, and then they have a separate lease for that smaller square.
for
lot.
number 2.
Yes, gotcha. I guess I could have put one on each square. I was trying to be creative. I don't know if if it leads to more confusion, but
Moving on to the high school. No changes. Don't see any that could be added or subtracted. Immediately.
I do have a Cliff Trail there behind the cemetery lot. We know why that's not.
I'm not entirely certain why that's unavailable. Or not available.
There's cemetery land right there.
But the smaller one right here.
The sliver off Cliff Trail there.
I don't know, yeah, I don't know if there's also cemetery, like grave sites there. It's also a pretty steep hillside.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's utilities running up that hill. I I'm gonna say that there isn't, but for some
Well, we
reason,
did. The water leak that we just replaced, or where there was a,
those came in from the highway.
so there's.
Yeah, so the water and sewer does come in from the highway, so
Okay.
there isn't, so there wouldn't be water or sewer utilities in that
Sure,
area.
sure, sure.
Again, I'm not completely sure why it's unavailable.
Okay.
She'll find out for us. White Shed Road. No changes. It's not, well, at least not yet. There's one that might change here shortly. You can get it, well, that'll show on Odiak Park. You redesignated lots 1, 2, block 5.
Yeah, so those are those two lots that both abut Copper River Highway, and one of them abuts Center Drive and Copper River Highway. We do use the one that connects to Center Drive as a snow dump. But you know, we've had some discussion about how potentially there could be a driveway built along the east side, and then that back portion of that lot could be used for development. And we can still retain snow dumping in that front portion of the lot. Yeah, so that was kind of the thinking there.
Are you changing to orange? First.
I don't remember what the size of them are. The one that touches Center Drive and Copper River Highway is zoned business. So that one has potentially more uses on it, and doesn't have the same, I don't believe it's subject to the same 4,000 square foot minimum lot size. But otherwise, you know, lot sizes are typically minimum lot size is usually 4,000 square feet, and I don't know what these are off the top of my head.
I know we took them off since I've been here. They were on there when I got here. We took them off.
For snow.
Well, because of one, they were being used as a snow dump.
One is,
Huh?
one is.
One is, the other one,
I know that other people have had concerns also that there is a stream that goes through there, and for the life of me, don't make me pronounce it. And Nadamnus. Yeah, that one. But our code also does have setback requirements from that, so I mean, the lots could still be developed while protecting the stream as well, so.
the bridges.
The connecting lot to that is zoned differently?
The one that connects to
Highway.
both Center Drive and the highway.
No.
That one is zoned as business, the other one is zoned as, I believe correctly, it's medium density.
medium.
Yeah.
And then the sliver lot, we had one proposal that time frame closed.
Yeah, the RFP closed on that. We received one proposal, and that'll be coming to you at the next meeting for you to review and score.
And maybe the special.
Maybe.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know how much we want to load on a special meeting, but
Power Creek Road. Removed the lot that was sold. Fine. But there was a concern about the cemetery that's already been finished, covered. Yak Lake. No changes. 5 Mile Loop, no changes. Other than one of those is gonna be leased,
Potentially.
potentially.
Oh, that's right. Look,
Um. Does anybody have any additional comments or concerns or additions or retractions?
I guess in addition to that, if there isn't anything else that you'd like to change this evening, would you like us to hold off on the approval of these tonight for us to come back with that information about those additional lots? So you can determine if you want to change those to available, if you can make them available, the ones that Chris had pointed out. Otherwise, those could be done as a separate action, but I think it would just be cleaner if it goes as one, but again, it's up to the commission how you want to handle that. You could pass this tonight and then we could do a amendment to the update. It would have to go to council as a separate item then, so.
I would like to hold.
Any objections to holding? It'll be a lot quicker discussion. Next week.
Special meeting.
We'll have 2 or 3 special meetings next month.
Yeah, we're gonna not load up that special meeting, so this will probably come back at the regular meeting then, so.
I don't think we're in that much of a hurry, because I don't see a big amount of change. From 24 to 25, so.
Yeah, a lot of it's just cleanup.
Yep.
I don't think we really we didn't change anything from not available to available, and we changed one from available to available require subdivision, which again was just a clerical correction.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, realistically, the maps, the 24 maps as they're shown are pretty much the same as what I assume you'll recommend going forward, unless you decide to do something on those lots if we are allowed to. So.
Next item then? We're gonna-
You guys made a, you need to make a motion to amend the motion to refer this back to staff.
Somebody. I can't amend it.
Amend the motion to refer it back to staff. Correct? That was
Can I second?
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
I.
Aye.
Did you say what your amendment is gonna be?
Refer it back to staff.
Okay.
Just to be picky, now you need to vote on the main motion as amended, which is the same motion.
Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Sean, you still here?
Yep, aye.
Congratulations. Okay, next item, before we go back to the unfinished business is, request for proposals. Planning Commission review and scoring criteria update discussion. This is just a discussion, with no motion. Information, motion or resolution. So. Huh? You want a break? Huh?
Yeah.
We're gonna take a short break.
This is the longest meeting in a long time.
Yeah, I think this is the longest one we've done. This is good.
Sorry,
My fault.
sorry, my packet was kind of.
They're long meetings.
No, that's all right.
Wait,
Would be so bad if I didn't go 1.5-year-old.
I haven't met you.
We are in charge of.
Been a lifetime for that age.
It is, and probably for her grandpa as well.
I'm a Johnson, so, Newton Dave Johnson, and the grandparents. Jim Johnson's my dad.
Yeah, who was Reverend Robert Hall.
Okay.
We did the church right after it burnt down.
Okay.
And his first job was to rebuild it. And my sister and his brother was born in the hospital that was there.
Okay.
Um.
I keep trying to talk my husband into letting me retire so I can just craft and walk my dogs.
A lot of people want to go up there every weekend.
Oh, You think that Russ wouldn't want you to retire?
Probably getting to retire first. There goes your IT.
I know. The one who shows up. The one who shows up.
Oh, my.
Even if he's, you know, I haven't tired of it.
I'm trying to lose that,
Is it close?
maybe coincide with getting off tribal council. It's about a year and a half.
I don't think so.
Can't be Friday.
Today was just the first day of early voting.
It's guaranteed. a
Yeah.
year and a half. I'll be at least.
Those are our bosses.
It's a lot of work.
I won't be chair, I told them I won't be chair.
No.
So I can support the next one and make sure continuity's there, but.
On that. view, those things on the bottom of the-
I was just mad about where everything's going,
Yeah.
so.
Right.
Well, I was high enough on the staff that I knew. But it was one of those of, if you're really gonna make change, Russ and I had those discussions, so even on the. Stepping in the chair, that I'm gonna spend this much time as just the council. Do I wanna help drive the ship, close the door, and see if we can. Get some of these construction projects done that have been on our list for years.
Yeah.
Be nice. Buildings in town.
Yes.
I
hear you.
Better?
It's all the apple juice.
No, it's the dog, the horse. I was supposed to get dog food, I didn't.
Going back to, where were we? Just starting,
And,
We are at page 98. Right?
the RFP scoring criteria. It's just comments that we're gonna refer back to staff. For the next, for the RFP that we're gonna talk about next.
No, you'll have to score the LaFever RFP based on the old criteria, because that's what was published.
Yeah.
To the public.
I'm talking about the one that we next gonna talk, we're going back to the new business.
Oh, yes.
The town or the lots across from the school.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave this up to Amanda. She's fully dived into this and taken this on. But just, you know, she gave you these documents at the last meeting, asked you to look at them. If you could just provide us with comments, feedback, that sort of thing, and then if there's anything that you want changed or modified, then Amanda can get that done for the next meeting, and then they hopefully can be voted on and finalized. So this, let's the Amanda show.
So I'm gonna give it to you.
Okay, so I just ran with, the prior discussions that you had regarding the, current RFP scoring criteria. I guess it was a document that you all inherited. It was created in, 2011. And, then it didn't give you really a clear guideline of what each criteria meant. So basically it just says value of improvements, number of employees, sales tax revenue, importance to community, 5-year business plan / timeline, enhanced architectural design, proposal price, consistency with comprehensive plan, but then it doesn't dive deep into what each of those headings mean. And so you asked for a document that gave more clarity on what each of those meant. Yeah, so what I did was go through and in keeping with the comprehensive plan, created 2 different documents, one for the planning commission that would basically score, you'd be able to score the proposal off of, and then one for the public, and that's what they would get to see what the basically the assignment would be for the RFP creation. So those go hand in hand together. What the public would get versus how you would score it. So it's kind of like teacher, student scoring type structure. So basically, if you could just give me your edits of what you actually want to see in here, I can go back and edit them and then create new ones to bring to you until you like what you see and can use for scoring RFPs.
Sure.
Yeah, the one thing that, we talked about previously that, I thought was a pretty good idea, was for the financial aspects of the scoring rubric, having like a mathematical function that you,
Okay.
be able to, that, we as the scorers would be able to punch in, so that way the ones that are objective, like, you know, objective facts, not just, you know, matters of opinion,
Yeah.
that they are, uniform. But other than that, this looks a million times better than, yes.
Yeah,
It answers a lot of questions that went through my mind. And I was trying to figure out how to use it. I think so. Not like a living document. I like the process because it keeps us moving. And this will zero in closer and make us be a little use it to read out the objectives that we can all act off of and communicate from. I think it's just gonna be, you know, as we use it, my impression is we need tweaking depending on the project or how we feel about it. But I feel like this is good. I like that we continue to use it because it does keep us moving.
no,
I just appreciate the time that you put into it and, just the breakdown of. And the explanation of every single one of these, and so it, I like it.
and like I commented before the meeting, I'd like to see a page limit instead of one or two pages, one or two bunch of pages here, just total pages.
And how many pages would you like to see?
Well, it would be different for each one. For something big,
You wanna see one page?
they need more to write. But something simple for like a simple two lot. You know, a two lot, if there was two people putting it, it would be a 2-page document, but instead of then somebody sitting there looking at, well, I've got to come up with 2 pages of stuff, and then we get to read a lot of 2 pages of repeated stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe we could do like a practice run with this new scoring rubric just for fun. You know what I mean?
Well-
Just to like flesh it out before we then have 2 RFPs or several RFPs that we're like trying to score.
I think we're gonna be doing this on the last, going back to the new business, which is those lots. They want to put an RFP out for that. And that one's gonna be, this one more or less works fairly well for that. And after the review, we can come back and say, wait a minute, we should have done this, we should have done that. But I think it will more or less work as is. It's just a couple minor tweaks. For the, Second Street lots. So you can move forward with those, but we'll discuss that next. Alliance. Anybody else have anything for her?
I just wanted to say thanks for bringing forth, thoughtful, comprehensive document, in detail. It helps us to do this a lot better, so that was well worth.
Well, thank you.
I'm gonna move on
Can,
to,
sorry, can we go to page 104 and can we just kind of talk through these different, each different category, and if you guys are okay with what's under the subheading? If there's any kind of changes that need to be made, or if you like how it reads, then we can just say, oh, good, good, or just change this or take this requirement out.
When I read it this morning, it looked good to me.
Yeah, I thought that's what we were commenting on.
Agreed.
Okay, so it all looks good.
Yeah.
Okay,
And like you said, this is the living document and
we can change as we go. Yeah,
when we start doing an RFP. And here's the thing, you stated somewhere that you might be getting an RFP to review.
yeah, I'm sure we will. I'm
But,
sure we'll get a lot.
but we're not gonna score that because there's only one. Unless,
So that RFP went out with this old document from
Right.
2011.
right,
So that one has to be scored with this if it was going to be scored.
but we've
only received one, so.
and that's what I'm saying, we only received one and it's an acceptable. It doesn't matter what the scores are because they're gonna win.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to be scored.
Well, they're not,
necessarily.
yeah,
They might not mean
just
any of
because
those.
it's the only one doesn't necessarily
Right.
mean that it is a good project.
No, that's where we have to say, is it acceptable?
So
Yeah,
is that,
which I think this document is a good way of
Okay.
it.
so is that, an edit that we wanna make on here? If it doesn't meet minimum score requirements of X, then it gets, tossed out?
It would be recommended to reject it.
Do
Yeah,
we
do
wanna
do we
state
wanna
that
actually
in this
put-
document?
Do we want to put a number on that, or do we want to leave that subjectivity?
And that's up to you guys, what you wanna do, we can make this document yours, but if that's something that we wanna see as a possibility, I can definitely write it down.
Does everybody like the location of the scoring instructions? There's like categories and then it shows the scoring instructions. I like I follow it, but I'm just wondering, like, should the instructions be before the categories?
I think that's pretty user friendly. As it stands.
Yeah, great job, Amanda. It is. It's really good. It's thorough.
Thanks. What do you mean by the category portion? Are you talking about like how it has are you talking on the,
You gave the instructions at the end of the document.
oh, okay,
It should happen.
yes, I hear you. Yeah,
Just because, like, I don't know, you're like then looking at numbers, and so I guess you're like then actually scoring, but then like after the fact, you like go to the next page and then it says scoring instructions.
yeah,
It's almost like, should the scoring instructions be moved to page
Should the
106? And then
Yeah,
should
yeah.
the page that comes in front of page 104.
yeah,
So you're given the scoring information first, and then you move on to actually then do the scoring. I think,
Yeah.
is that what you're saying, Sean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I misunderstood you. That makes a lot of sense.
oh, I think this goes to. Is that for the public use one, or is that for us?
I think it could be for both. I think you could, if you're going to have this 106 as part of the public packet, you could then have a second version of it with the scoring instructions. That's the cover sheet for the planning commission
Yeah,
one. My only question would be, and I guess it's for the commission, is there's been a lot of talk, and it's come up before, not just with talking about this process, but with other land disposals in the past, is how people are financing their project. And I know we put, a business plan is in here, but do we want to be more specific? Because it says business plan with financial details. But I mean, that could be interpreted in many ways, like what are the finances of the business itself, not the finances of the actual construction of the proposal. Is that something that we want to get more clarification on and require people to put in their plan of how are you financing this? If you're using private financing, do you have that secured, and what does that look like? Or do do you have cash? And if they have cash, like, are you requiring them to submit bank statements to prove that they have this cash to do the project? I mean, this is the conversation that you've had in the past and wasn't sure if this document clarified enough for that portion based on your previous conversation.
But I do have a question about that too. Does that then become public record?
Yeah.
Your bank statements?
Yeah.
So then you need to redact any information that. Because
Yeah,
it would
but-
then become public record.
Yeah, it'd be up to the person submitting it, you know, I mean, that's, but we need to have that conversation, that's something you wanna require, because it's been brought up both at this level and at the council level before, and you know, it's. You don't go to somebody and say, I wanna buy your house, and they agree to sell it to you, and then you tell them how you're gonna pay for it later. You know,
Yeah.
See the pre-approval from the bank one. Before.
but this is also a unique process because, and we've had this discussion many times. Most places aren't going to lend money on things that you don't already own. So how do you have financing, you know, you get into a chicken egg situation where if somebody doesn't have the cash to do it, which we've had that discussion also is, should that person, you know, have an quote unquote unfair advantage because they have the capital in their pocket versus someone that needs to get financing? Because the person that needs to get financing can't get that financing until they've secured the property. But also then at the same time do we want to put ourselves in a situation where now we've given somebody a property and we don't know whether they can actually do the project or not? And I don't have an answer to this, unfortunately, but we've had the discussion before and I didn't know if we wanted to continue that discussion.
Well, would it be something that they could work with their bank or their lender or whatever, and then just have a letter stating that, you know, they've spoken with them and if it moves forward, that there is,
The possibility to be pre-approved.
yes.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm not a lender, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I
What the
don't know.
question, what the answer would be in that specific. Scenario, but I know that like, if you're gonna go house shopping, most realtors won't take you unless you're pre-approved,
Right.
so. Could be some kind of requirement.
I just don't see people wanting to give their banks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, and make it public record that you're getting coffees every morning.
Right?
You know, I don't
Well,
know.
you don't have to give your bank statements, you can give a statement of your, you know, brokerage account that I have $150,000 in a brokerage account, so I can pay cash for this. You know, you just have to show it. I'm not saying that we have to require that, but I'm saying you don't have to show, you don't have to give us your credit card bills.
Right.
You know, just if you say you have the money to pay for it. Like,
Sorry, I can't help myself. I guess I was gonna say, I would speak totally against making anybody's bank records public. I think that's a horrible plan.
Yep.
But maybe a compromise of, hey, we're choosing you and you have this many days to validate this with staff. Where that doesn't have to be a public process, but even from an NBE perspective, like. I don't wanna hand over our brokerage accounts and let the community know what we do, or, you know, like, that's not the community's job to know all that. And my question on business plans, you know, how does that work if a business has been in business for a long time? I mean, are you still requiring that, or are you, you know, what level of flexibility? I know you guys are trying to make it like, hey, we're not giving anybody preferential treatment, but not everything, you know, I'm even looking at enhanced architectural drawings. Well, how much money are you outlaying when you're not guaranteed that you're gonna have that property if you're engineering a building to go on that property? Like, where flexibility of saying, hey, you have this much time to get that, otherwise it goes to the next person. I don't know. My thought.
Enhanced architectural design too could be like somebody making a little design on the front. Someone adding like a little wooden design on the front, like they used to do, that's like delivery inlay type thing, you know, whatever. So it just depends on how nice they make it look just by adding a couple extra touches or.
Yeah, I would say that, I do not think that we should, require, that level of, financial, disclosure, yeah. Because we are. Yeah, we are not a, we're not a bank, we're not a lender, we're a community where our main job is that we are trying to improve the community, not, necessarily. Make bank on every transaction. So I think that we should be letting. Yeah, that subjectivity. Be a more prominent factor. So if they would like to disclose that kind of information. Then that can be, that can be put into consideration, that can make their proposal more attractive. But I don't think that it's something that we should be requiring.
Yeah, and just clear, I wasn't saying that we need to do that. It's just, we've had the discussion before and I want to make sure that we touch back on that because I know that there has been a lot of concern in the past where are we gonna tie this property up for the next 10 years with somebody that can't actually perform on what they've said that they're going to perform?
Yeah.
And is there a way for us to somehow safeguard community assets from being tied up and not being developed in the way that we were told? So, yeah.
There's also been discussion of having a scoring portion that just says this person came with the first letter of interest. So then they get 5 points for having come and opened the discussion. But I don't know if that gives preferential treatment to that person or if that is a valid point to be made, so. Can think that number.
I like that because there's people with good ideas. And when they bring it to the table and then somebody else with maybe a little more money steals the idea and plays it. The person that brings the good idea needs to, or.
I mean, I would say that, it's not really our job to reward, novelty. It's our job to create the best facility, the best infrastructure for the community.
I think that's part of the problem. We get people that put in or requests like they did. Now it goes out to an RFP, but if their request was more basic, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We really can't go to a direct negotiation because we need more information. So it's a catch-22 thing.
Yeah.
If somebody says, hey, this lot's been available, I'd like to buy it. And they just have a simple little checklist. You put it in and it comes to us to determine whether it goes through an RFP or not. But there's very little information on really what they're gonna do with it, so. Like the dentist, he wants these 2 lots, it just, hey, I wanna develop these 2 lots. Without really going too detailed.
Yeah.
That's what should be put in, the minimum amount should be put out in the public statement. And then they can come in and talk to us during the meeting. And that's when, if somebody comes into a meeting with an idea and nobody else is at that meeting, it should move forward to negotiations because they had a chance. Here, they'll have a chance that once it goes to the city council, that's always been my problem with it, like. Nobody else said anything, now we go out to after 2 meetings, it goes out to an RFP. And now everybody's looking at, well, look at what he's gonna do now, because he already had his information in there. And I think the way we're doing this next RFP is the way to do those. Here's a piece of parcel. There's no predetermined what needs to be done on it. So basically, they pre-submitted an RFP or a proposal. That doesn't get published with the RFP. It's just the RFP goes out. And so they're, it then comes to us. Hey, somebody's put a request to purchase this lot. Yes, go ahead. Nobody objected. It doesn't have to go to proposal. City council, they get and it goes to them and they don't have anybody objecting, then it's sold. So long as it meets, and there is no there's no real, I don't know how to phrase this.
Yeah, that's why I don't think that we should have
Right,
a minimum scoring criteria, because then someone can just. Put in a proposal and write in two sentences, you know, I want it, I'm gonna, you know. Gonna develop it, and, you know, we come to the decision that that is enough information, even though it's scored, you know, 2 points. Then we can just move forward.
If I might. That's exactly what just happened. I put in a letter of interest for a piece of property. Stated the names, the lot, and turned it in. At the meeting, it came forth and said that it would be for recreation. Kind of explained to you guys about what I'd do with it. You guys recommended for direct negotiation, it went to council. They voted on it, it went to, now directed to staff.
Because they said they didn't have enough information, which was silly.
No, it
They said that wasn't enough information in the packet, didn't they say that?
was voted 5-2.
Yeah.
In favor. So. So now we go to negotiations with. I, as an entity, go
Yeah.
to negotiations with them.
Yeah.
On lease, so, I mean, that's literally how it went.
had anybody come to our meeting or the city council meeting and say, hey, wait a minute, I would like to do something with that. It automatically should go to an RFP at that point.
Sure.
That's where I'm coming from.
Sure.
You're the only one, and then all of a sudden, you've gone to 2 meetings, you wasted a month at least. And all of a sudden, somebody else goes, oh, I got an idea now.
Oh, I just think that it's been brought up time and time again that when we do make our suggestion and then it goes to council and then they make it to RFP, but I think that I've heard them say that they want a joint meeting between the 2 of us so that we can just, I know we've had them before where you know, they say we've got these choices, but do we really have these choices? Because when we do make a different choice other than RFP. I feel like it just,
We're just making a recommendation.
yeah,
And we just need to put in our wording that our recommendation, and this is one of the reasons why, there has been nobody else put in on this. There's no reason to go to an RFP. There was nobody at the
I
meeting,
agree with you. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you.
and if there's nobody at the city council meeting at the time, who are they saving it for? They're trying to get somebody else to put a proposal in on.
I think we're all in broad agreement here.
Yeah. It's just frustrating.
So no minimums. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
So.
So no minimums, and then did you just
No.
say if the person puts in a letter of interest,
We're doing this next
then
week.
maybe they get 5 points, or is that something?
I was opposed to that. I'm
Okay.
not sure how everyone else is done.
This next one, we're putting out an RFP versus. For something that nobody's asked for. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we'll see what council says.
And whatever we come up. On the financing end of things.
If you're fine
No
with keeping
public
it,
disclosure
if
of
you're
funds.
fine with keeping it vague as just provide a business plan with financial details, and then it's up to the proposer to decide what that means to them. I mean,
I just wanted to make sure I was understanding it correctly.
that's what we have in here currently. I was just asking the question of, do we want to be more specific since that had been a discussion previously? So I want to make sure that we weren't overlooking something that we've had multiple discussions on.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Well, then we'll bring this to you for an approval at the next meeting. So
With that,
we've got one more item.
we got one more item going back to new business. Which is, our unfinished business. Creation of request proposal for lots 19 to 25, lot 6, original town size. Which is on page 7, holy cow. That's going way back.
All of it. No. Yeah, page 9.
So, I'm getting my eyes tired.
Mr. Chair,
Sir,
I move to formulate the creation of a request for proposals for lots 19 through 25, block 6, original town site.
Second.
do your motion.
Okay, I have a couple thoughts for that site. I think that that is the perfect location for higher medium density family housing. Particularly for, you know, young families, so a 2-bedroom apartment kind of complex. I would say that probably waiving the 2 parking spots per dwelling unit, moving that down to 1, because, you know, it's right down in the downtown corridor. And with the possibility of probably on the first floor, making those, having them be dwelling units, but having them zoned in such a way that they would be available for small scale commercial, yeah, so, you know, someone living on the ground floor could, you know, have the flexibility of having a small business. If that is, you know, just kind of future proofing the place.
But we talked about doing the alley, the very bottom alley being potential parking.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And then the second street ground floor being the commercial.
Yeah, sorry.
And then up above, anything above that would be residential or additional business.
So I just caution the planning commission about designing the structure and leaving
Right.
that to the proposers.
Right,
Not that you can't suggest things, but again, I mean, you know, none of us are architects or engineers and you don't want to put too tight of a box around this. I think it's best to, and I mean, again, if you want to say otherwise, it's totally fine, but just from my experience, I would suggest putting some, you know, fence posts around the types of uses and things that you'd like to see. And then allow people with the
Right.
creative minds to bring forward how they want to check each of those boxes.
You're saying we're not
I'm
creative.
not saying you're not creative, but none of us are professional.
We're saying
No, no,
you're not building it, you're asking
You're-
it something to be built
Heard
in
en-
that
heard
location.
enough.
we're asking somebody else to spend their money for something we want.
But yeah, just.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for my thoughts, I would say, yes.
That would actually,
two-bedroom apartment.
if we do it in using the rubric. Community benefits. Is where that would be weighed, is what they actually propose.
Yeah.
We just want them to put a proposal in. And we'll look at each one. How, you know, then there's a couple different areas in there. Where that's scored. But, and that's actually, city council's gonna score it too.
Yeah.
But it also depends on how many letters of interest we get. Are these letters of interest or proposals?
It'd be proposals if, because we would potentially be advertising a request for proposals. Let's say it's just city initiated instead of privately initiated.
We haven't
Um,
had many so far, have we?
No, and that's kind of why we were having this discussion is, you know, do we want to self-initiate a request for proposals and advertise it more broadly to see if there is interest? We could also just start out by just advertising the space.
Right.
You know, here's the zoning. And advertise it out and
Right.
see what we get. We don't necessarily have to put these, you know. I don't wanna call them restrictions, but you know, the guidance on what we'd like to see there. We could also put guidance on, this is our preferred development, but it doesn't preclude people from putting in. Other development proposals and see what sort of proposals we get back. You know, there's multiple ways we can go about this, but, yeah.
Does it align with the comprehensive plan? If it aligns with the plan, whatever they propose.
Right. I don't feel like pigeonholing you know,
This lot has to be a house with
right,
a sewing shop or.
yeah. I say we put it out and,
I say we let her put it out.
yeah,
You just want me to design it by myself? That's why I asked you.
Well, I'm thinking we need a test case. And if,
what do you mean, test?
well, to see if we want to put out more of these. Versus just use it, we're gonna use. The RFP scoring,
Mhm.
but if we're putting out a letter, you know, a request for proposals. For something that nobody's requested,
Well, I mean,
yeah,
it's not exactly like widely advertised that it's available, so it's.
it was pointed out to me. That there's this gentleman that showed up in town in the last year. He has figured out. How to request land. In less than a year, how to go through the system. People have been living here for 30, 40 years, and if they don't know how to do it. We can't go to each individual person and tell them, this is what you want to do this. It takes a little bit of initiative. The dentist did this.
Yeah, well, we're not looking for people in town particularly, I don't think. We were talking about this last meeting.
For this specific one.
For this
But if
specific,
there are people in town that are willing,
where are we gonna advertise it?
Nationwide.
There's different, yeah, there's different outlets that you can push RFPs out to that they have.
Well, okay,
Mailing lists and different websites that they put it on that developers frequent and things like that. So, you know, we have a couple different resources that we could advertise it to. I mean, I guess for the sake of just figuring out how we want to do this. You guys should probably just motion everything that you want to see or not see in the proposal, if we're gonna move forward with the proposal, like. With Chris's, he's saying that this should be. Focused on high or medium density housing. Do we want to put an RFP out that says that that is the preferred development in this location?
Can I speak on my second?
yeah. Go ahead.
I would agree with, Commissioner Rainey. I'm not opposed to the, one off-street parking, per unit. I too would like to see, the commercial on the Second Street level. And, anything above that, I would prefer to see residential. But I'm also not opposed. This is just preference. So I'm thinking kind of off of what Kevin was recommending is that, you know, or giving us thoughts for is that, not to restrict ourselves.
Not wrongly too.
Yes. You know, I mean, we can put it out to where this is like what he's saying, this is a preferred, you know, but. Not to restrict them to not put it in because they don't want to do, you know, residential on top or. You know, commercial or, you know, I mean. I'm not opposed to all residential at all either, so. And if it's a community benefit that would work for, you know, commercial and events as well in the whole unit, I'm not opposed to that either, so.
I don't know if we can. This is not an open meeting. Or can she ask a question?
It's your meeting.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm just wondering if she can or not.
There's nothing that prohibits you from
Okay.
it.
All right, then, yes,
Thanks. I was just gonna suggest that the RFP, you know, I mean, I'm guessing that like you'll draft it and you'll bring it back to the.
Yeah.
Planning Commission for approval to work it. But I was just thinking if we just say, you know, the city has lots available for development with uses such as, but not restricted to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, that way you're like, you're making some suggestions, but you're saying, but we're open to other ideas, but these are our. I don't know, these are the things that we think are most likely or most.
Needed.
Yeah, sure. But such
Beneficial.
as but not restricted to, and then people, then it's open to.
Right.
Submissions.
Do you want to see something, preferred residential component?
I wouldn't be
Like that?
opposed to that.
Okay.
And do we want to vote on that?
Well, it's really, this is just a motion to send it to her to.
Yeah, but just that way we can have consensus.
Oh, that request.
Well, I was just gonna do a motion for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Are we done discussing? Well,
So far, if we end the discussion now, we're gonna come back to you with the RFP that says that we are interested in somebody developing these 7 lots. And the city would prefer to see the development be medium or high density residential with a street level commercial component. Where each dwelling unit would be required to have 1 on-site parking space.
Okay.
Other developments
Right, that
proposals
is-
would
that is
also
the
be
motion.
considered.
Others would be considered.
more or less, that sounds good to me.
So if you want us to draft something up like that, and then we can bring that back at the next meeting, and then you can motion the hell out of it to modify it. Is that a good starting point?
Yeah, I think that's a really good starting point.
So it's a motion to send to staff.
Yeah, I mean, you already moved to formulate the creation of a request for proposals. We've gotten guidance. So if you do want us to create that RFP for us to bring it back to you for
Yes.
more refining and approval, then you could vote on that now.
All those in favor?
Unless there's other stuff you want us to bring back.
Well, you also said if it aligns with the comprehensive plan. So that I just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah.
Other developments that align with
We
the
can
comprehensive.
add and modify it when it comes back to you next time, but if there's something you wanna see in its first form, speak now.
No, as long as we've got the option then.
It's girl.
Yeah.
There's red fence.
Did Sean?
Don, do you have anything?
Nope.
All those in favor?
I.
Aye.
Alright.
Motion to do so.
You needed something to do, didn't you? Okay. Audience comments. Now, if anybody has comments from the audience.
Oh, come on, I've been talking all night. I'm good.
Sure.
I guess I have a
Let's hear
question.
from
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What happens if a proposal comes in before you guys have approved an RFP?
You could,
And you guys
Does
have to make a recommendation on it that goes to the code, so it would still move through the process.
yeah,
Okay.
but then you're gonna put it in.
I can't guarantee anything. I'm just,
You put
wouldn't
it
be
in a
surprised to
proposal.
see me next month.
But again, it's a recommendation, so you could recommend not to dispose of it due to the fact that you're considering creating an RFP.
Yeah.
So, but it would still move through the
No,
process.
I would put out a recommendation. Proposals.
But either way, yes, it would still end up at council who would make the final decision.
Right.
And other developments that align with the comprehensive plans. So,
I heard it.
yeah.
Anybody else in the audience? Commissioner comments? Sean, I'll let you go first.
This was a productive meeting. I feel like we covered a lot today, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
Mr. Brolin.
Thank everybody for their time, staff, audience participation, love it. And, I just wanted to thank personally the commission and the staff for the work that we did with the lake lot and moving forward. So thank you, everybody.
Commissioner Rainey.
Yeah, I'd like to, thank, Amanda in particular. You put a lot of work into this one and you're gonna put a lot of work into the next one, so.
Thanks.
So yeah, I just really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. No, I'm very impressed.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you to staff. I don't think we've ever had a packet
Sorry,
this.
I'm
No,
sorry
no,
about that.
It's good. There's just a lot of discussion tonight and, I really do like seeing people in the audience and having participation, so it does help.
Yes.
Yeah, invite your friends.
Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. And it's past my bedtime, so
Yep.
Don't mean to interrupt.
go ahead.
I just wanted to make everybody also aware, I'm not sure if audience is aware, but. We're now live streaming this,
Yes. Yep.
so put the word out because I text one person. And they said it was Merry Christmas to them and I'm sure they're watching and then, I've been getting texts about. About the meeting, so
I have two.
that's,
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that and hear that, so. Kudos to Amanda for getting that online.
Thanks. It was one extra button to push, so I was very excited to push that button.
Yeah.
To make us go live, so we'll be live streaming from now on. And with the Zoom capabilities for anyone, if you're sick or traveling, please use the Zoom option to still attend the meetings, because you know, the more you're here and available, you know, the more we get your voice heard and we're able to have that discussion, so I really appreciate all of you, so. Thank you for that. Mr. Chair.
Sir,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Night.